So hello, beautiful people out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Hope you all are having a fabulous Sunday. I am Demetra K, and I am sitting here with Donovan, a recovering Democrat Saadiq, and it is the Demetra K Show where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we are great people, but we can always be better, right? There's always room for improvement. So with that, I'd like to say a big giant thank you and welcome to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. You all are not just viewers, but you all are like the third co-host, because we read your comments, questions, and concerns too. We don't think that you should sit there in the comment section and watch Donovan and I talk, although you'll get to do that on Tuesday because it's not live. But we like to consider you as well. And so I also like to say a big giant thank you to Marcus Guyton for everything he does behind the scenes on Facebook to make the show go further. Today, we are going to be talking about the saga of the Baltimore Squeegee boys. And maybe you have heard about the story, maybe you have not, but I will give you the details shortly. Donovan, what say you?
Well, again, it is Sunday. Welcome to the Demetra K Show. Glad to have you guys here as the third-party host. Before we get started, happy birthday month to longtime co-host Moni from Detroit. Much Detroit love to you, California love, and all that other good stuff as well. Do us a favor. Hit that share, like, and subscribe button. As you guys know, Demetra K is on her quest to get 50,000 subscribers. So every little bit helps. And again, to help beat the algorithm, go ahead and share this on your own platforms and get that information out there as well. Happy Sunday to our other co-hosts, Sunlight, Rain, Wilbur, Don, Monet, and everybody that's going to be coming up. So Demetra K, let's get into this because I haven't heard about it. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So yes, hello, everybody. And we will read your comment. And yes, Moni, much love to you and happy birthday for your birthday month. Happy birthday, girl. So anyway, I'm going to show y'all a video, and then of course I'll give a little bit more background information to it. So here we go. I actually need to mute my phone because it is going crazy. All right, so I'm going to put this up and we'll talk after this.
Because we are learning more about the suspect's background and the events leading up to Timothy Reynolds' death. Keith.
Well, Riel and Kai, we're not identifying the suspect because he's a juvenile, but we can tell you that he's a student. He attends Digital Harbor High School, and tonight he faces several charges, including first-degree murder, and his attorneys are calling it a case of self-defense. Tonight, Tavon Scott, a Baltimore father, speaking out about his 15-year-old son.
You never been through nothing like this before. It's a shock to all of us.
His son, who now faces several charges, including first-degree murder in the shooting death of Timothy Reynolds, the man who police say was shot and killed last week after a confrontation with squeegee kids near the Inner Harbor. Scott's son arrested for the killing.
For the world to think he's just a squeegee kid, he's a child with feelings. That's my child.
According to the charging documents obtained tonight by Fox 45 News, Reynolds got into an argument with several squeegee kids at the corner of Light and Conway Streets. Investigators say he was walking away from the suspect group with a baseball bat when three people from that group followed him, surrounded him. Police say Reynolds swung his bat at one of the suspects. Then somebody threw an object at Reynolds, hit him in the head. He fell. Then someone wearing a pink t-shirt, a black mask, and dark pants shoots the victim while simultaneously running away. Reynolds is killed.
It's a sad situation for everybody.
Noted Baltimore attorneys J. Wendell Gordon and Warren Brown are the boys' attorneys, taking the case pro bono. They say it's unclear now who actually did the shooting, but they say if the facts reveal their client pulled the trigger, they call the shooting defensible.
14 years old, 5'6", and 126 pounds, approached by a 6'2" man with 220 pounds with a bat. There's going to be some fear, instilled in that kid.
I do believe that the shooter honestly and reasonably believed that he was in imminent or immediate danger of death or serious bodily injury.
So And hello to who came on here. Love JJ, how you doing? Easy, what's going on with you? Ali, how you doing? I am glad that you are better. You sound like you had COVID, so speedy recovery to you. James, how are you? And Jafia, and anyone else. Thunder, I think you came on here as well. So anyway, and Yanni, how you doing? Sherry. So as you guys and Tawana and everybody else, Michael. So as you guys heard there, that took place in Baltimore. I think it was the 7th of July, where Timothy Reynolds was a 48-year-old guy, white guy. Now, let me actually back it up. So a lot of you guys have heard of squeegee workers, squeegee boys, people who do squeegeeing. Basically, they are at the intersections of most streets and stuff like that, some highways or, on ramps. I don't know. So anyway, what they are doing is squeegeeing people's windows to get money. So a lot of times it's a little aggressive, if you will. I mean, we've all been approached by someone who, was a squeegee worker. They want to start squeegeeing your windows. You're like, yo, I don't have any money, or, no, thank you. Just got my windows washed, or whatever the case is. And so it sounds like that's what happened there. It was an altercation that went on. Now, what they are not telling you is a lot of other witnesses said that Timothy Reynolds, the white guy, parked his car. So he drove up the road a little bit, parked his car, reached into his truck, got an aluminum baseball bat, and walked across 8 lanes to go to the group of kids who I guess was attempting to wash his windows. And so they're saying that he approached, and some people are even saying he swung on the kids. Now, of course, the boy who is not named, he was actually 14 at the time. And when they actually found him, he had turned 15. So he shot Timothy Reynolds, I think they said 5 times, and shot him 3 or something like that. Needless to say, Timothy Reynolds is dead. Okay. And so they have decided, they being the authorities there, to charge the 15-year-old as an adult. So, that can mean life in prison or murder if that's Maryland's thing. If they believe in a death penalty, they want to try him as an adult. And they're also, the Commissioner Harrison there, Police Commissioner Harrison, is basically trying to say, well, we need to get the guns off the street. These young kids, they keep getting the guns and this, that, and the other. And of course, Marilyn Mosley, she is running for, I think it's district attorney there. She still is. She was like, you know what? Yeah, I hear what y'all saying, but we also need to deal with the economic issue here in Baltimore. As you guys may or may not know, Elijah Cummings was the representative there from like 1996 all the way to 2019 when he died. Of course, you guys probably heard of him more notably when Trump said that his district is like the worst district in the country, and with all the ills that go on there. And I should also say that Baltimore is about 60% Black people with a poverty rate of about 27% of that of Black people. I think the unemployment rate is around 6 or so, give or take, depending on who you believe. Right now, it is ran by Kawezi Mfume. He also had the district before Elijah Cummings, and I guess Elijah Cummings beat him, and then Mfume got the seat back during the special election when he died. So I say
Mfume went to become president of the NAACP. He took a position.
Got it. So regardless of whatever it was, he was that first, and then Cummings, and then he is back in that seat now. So I say all of that to say is that, economically speaking, Baltimore is not doing that well. In fact, it's out of 50 cities, it's about the 23rd poorest city in the nation. That was, I think, as of last year. So I don't know where it is now. So a lot of people are also taking issue with the educational system there. It said on average, I think from 2020 to 2021, the average grade points of, don't give me the line of the students in some of the schools was like 0.1 or something. So it was horrible for whatever reason. And a lot of the squeegee boys, if you will, they've dropped out of school, do not have an education and things like that. We also know that back in the day, I know when I was coming up, they had these youth summer programs where kids could go work and stuff. So it doesn't sound like they have a lot of that going on. So these boys, from a lot of people, are saying, well, they're forced to be out there because they want to make a living. They're hustling. So yeah, sometimes it gets egregious. Now, it is also said that the squeegee boys, if you will, sometimes do get into altercations and all of that. But they said that's not all of them. I should also say that the art of being a squeegee boy, if you will, is illegal. It is not a legal practice there. Sometimes the police mess with them, sometimes they don't. But now they want to have a crackdown since this, Timothy Reynolds was murdered. Of course, they said he was a good dad and this, that, and the other, but they leave out the fact that the good dad got out of his car when he really could have just kept going with his aluminum bat to, potentially go hit children with the bat. And so the conversation is not being steered toward, okay, because we had this conversation last week, right? Remember we talked about the bodega? It's not really steered toward, some people have the conversation. Did Mr. Reynolds need to get out of his car? You weren't in any imminent danger at that point. You had, gone on about your way and then you decided to get out of the car. Of course, the 14-year-old should not have had the gun. He had it. But what if he didn't have the gun? What if he didn't have it? And of course, they're saying that, he got shot walking away, but there's different versions of the story. But what if he did not have the gun? Will we be telling the story if, the guy swung on him and hit one of the kids and killed him or injured him? What would the story have been then? And so I want to have that conversation with you all about this very unfortunate story of the Squeegee boys and everything in between. So Donovan, what say you before I get to these comments?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you bring that up. I was in Baltimore about 2 years ago with my mom. We were visiting a friend there. I thought I was in a third world country. It was bombed out. It is statistically, the school system there for Black people has abruptly failed. Now, I have a question for a lot of our co-hosts out here listening and watching. Why is it that in this country, you can legitimately go through a neighborhood without any signs or any kind of indication, know if it is democratically represented or Republican represented? Have you guys noticed that? Wherever the Democrats are and Black people live, in most cases, abject poverty, wild, wild west, it's just done. Now, the Democratic areas that I know that are affluent is your Martha Vineyard and all these little places like that where Black people really don't live. So it's kind of telling, because when I went to Baltimore 2 years ago, I was shocked. I was shocked that in the time that I had gone there the first time to where it has led to now by Black representation. Was Trump wrong when he said that's a shithole, state or area? I don't think he was, because again, the funny thing about us as Black people, we get so emotional. Oh, I just want the white man to treat me better and make me feel better about myself. But yet, economically, you don't have the money or the resources to really demand anything. So, this is a really good topic. But before we get behind really, really deep, let's hear what some of our co-hosts have to say so we can really get into this.
Absolutely. So welcome to everybody else who came on here after I was giving my little monologue, if you will. And so let me start with Black America. It says, so meaning is halfway is average. And I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. It's probably just my understanding. So forgive me. Love JJ. He says, that's a huge point. Economic inequity. I don't condone any kind of unnecessary killing. But let's talk about the unfairness all around our community. Yeah. They really don't want to have a conversation about that. They should, though. Why are these boys out there? Why aren't they in school? Why is the educational system there terrible? So those are the conversations we really need to be having. And you also say NAACP is a joke. And let's see who else came on here. And Miss Lovelace, how you doing? It says, that's why our Black people, professional people, must make it our business to assist our younger youth in Baltimore. Absolutely. And, I'm in Houston and I see the water. It seems like it's predominantly boys out there and it looks like they'll have an adult with them. But I do see the boys out there selling water and stuff like that. It's hot summertime, trying to make some money really at the end of the day. But yeah, where are these people who could really help maybe start some youth programs in the summer where they can earn money and learn a trade or something like that? Pioneer, what's going on with you? And GOG Experience, how you doing? He says the NAACP national headquarters is located in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that information.
Yeah, and then another question I have. I lived in my city since 1977, off and on, right? I lived in my city. Ever since I was a little kid, there was always a senior center, right? In most cities, there are senior centers. So Demetra is far from being a senior, but I'm almost there, right? So there's a senior center for me. I'm retired. I've got money coming in, whatever the deal is. If you notice that in most cities, especially where Black people live, there are no more youth centers. There are no more boys and girls clubs. There are no more 4-H clubs. Why is that? Why do we cater to the people that have so-called money, and yet we do nothing for the youth, and yet we complain when the youth roam around like a band of hyenas vandalizing the neighborhood and bringing it down, or like the Squeegee boys? They're trying to hustle to make a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there.
Absolutely. And Craig, you said Reynolds was not murdered. He threatened the lives of our children and they rightfully defended themselves. The Casual Killing Act will not be allowed to stand. And so I'm not really familiar with the laws are there as far as if they have a stand your ground. It doesn't sound like they do, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, to me, it seems like it's more of a self-defense. I mean, why in the hell did you get out of your car? You know what I mean? And then you got out with a baseball bat. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Hey, guys, let's play ball. I mean, did you think they were going to perceive it that way, or did they perceive you to be a threat? And I'm sure you came out there with the rah-rah and he was doing the most, because that's what a lot of people who were at the intersection said, that he was pretty angry. And some people said that they did see him, rear up the bat and potentially swing it. So, I mean, what was you looking for?
Well, don't you guys understand? I'm white. I have privilege. That's what he came out there for. And the reality hit him in the face.
Yeah, and of course, we don't want to make light of somebody losing their life, but it's like, to paint this man as, and I guess in a technical sense, he is a victim. But it's like, no, tell the whole story. Tell the whole story that, yeah, I get it. Like I said, how many of us have had somebody converge upon our vehicle and start squeegeeing and, I doubt it, start squeegeeing and say, hey, let me do your car. You're like, no, I'm good. It's annoying, but damn, I'm not going to get out of my car with no bat and get to acting stupid, So it's like, I think we need to have that conversation as well. But at the end of the day, this, child who was 14 at the time, 15 now, is going to be tried as an adult. And so his lawyers are saying, no, we want him tried as a juvenile, because there is some self-defense factors weaved into that, right? And LL, how are you doing? And only Pamela's way, how you doing? Pioneer, he says, Brother Donovan, I knew you were going to bring up that Democrat versus Republican thing, laugh out loud, but I don't think it makes any difference whether a Republican or Democrat is running the show as far as our people.
Well, see, I'm gonna have to disagree with that, because again, if it doesn't matter, then why are we out here complaining? Why are we out here complaining that we don't get resources? Why are we out here complaining that we live in a hellhole? Let's just fence the Black area off like Escape from New York and let us just fend for ourselves. I think it does matter. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, in the Congress person, they're on the state level, but they're supposed to go and vote on legislation that is going to help their area and a whole host of other things, but really they're supposed to do good on the state level for the area. And so, that's the 7th district of Baltimore, and it's been struggling for a minute. And so, I don't know whether what a Republican would do. It's a Democrat ran area. Let's just keep it real. And most Democrat ran areas they don't look that great, and they're not doing that great. So I think, maybe we can interject politics in here a little bit. Pioneer, what you think? And easy.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you got to think about it. Like I said, Martha's Vineyards, only certain Democratic areas are doing well like Republicans. So this is my theory, which we've been telling you guys on this show for years. Are these people playing good cop, bad cop, and they're the same people? Are they? Look at the up north, Northern California, in the districts where Nancy Pelosi is, pristine, rich. Look at the Republican areas. Even in Southern California, there are not a lot of them, pristine and rich. But look at the majority of where Black people live. You got your Maxine Waters, your Elijah Cummings, your Sheila Jackson Lees. And these are the people, Jim Clyburn, these are senior Democrats. You telling me that there's not a correlation to what's going on here? They have pull, and yet they do nothing.
Easy, you say, because he was only 14, they are going to throw him under the bus as a gun-carrying young thug, but Mr. Reynolds drove away a parked car and walked back 4 lanes, and some people even said 8, so I don't know, 4, 8 lanes to confront someone washing windows. Yeah, some kids, essentially, is what they were, and he let his ego get the best of him. And unfortunately, like I said, I don't want to make light of him not being here, but damn, dude, you in the pickup truck. Sounds like he had just left his son's baseball game or something like that, or he was going to it. I don't know what it was, but he had the bat in the car, and he decided to try to bully some kids who probably did get on his nerves, maybe did, jump on his window or he tried to squeeze you. But man, he was like, you're the adult. Those are the kids. At some point in time, common sense should have came into play. Like, let me just keep it pushing. And let's see here. Miss Lovelace, she says the Black youth was defending himself. Yeah, absolutely themselves. And Pam is jamming. What is going on with you? He says, greetings, Demetri, Donovan, and Mr. Chat. Mr. Reynolds should have just left the scene and kept it going. He'd still be alive. Yes, indeed. And let's see here. Black America. He says, Las Vegas is Democratic. We do great here. Okay. And let's see here. Thunder, I say we should reconnect with our conservative roots where we're not well off back. Well, when I think we were not well off back then, but okay, got it. But during the civil rights movement, our neighbors were clean and intact. So you're basically saying we weren't well off then, but we had, we were a little bit better off as far as cosmetically, I think.
Yeah, and that term about Las Vegas, you got to remember, Las Vegas gets a lot of their money from the gambling and from the casinos. So when you have an influx of money like that coming into an area, a good example, like the casinos for the Native Indians. Now that they've allowed gambling on the native casino lands, are the natives doing really well for themselves? Yes, they are. When I was stationed in Alaska, because of the oil revenue there, when money is coming in that isn't necessarily from taxpayer dollars and taxing, your area is going to do very well because, they
Donovan freeze up, or is it me? Is it me or is it Donovan? Let me know here. I think it's Donovan. So I keep reading until he comes back. And Don, how you doing, my moderator? And Ricky, what's going on with you? He says, nope, I don't feel sorry for him. He got out of his car and went over there with a baseball bat, I think he meant, to do something that he probably knew he couldn't get away. He could get away with, just like dude that got stabbed and killed. All these people with their bogus audacity. I totally agree with you. And El Hombre Negro, how you doing? He says, them all $50. And I don't know what that means in the messenger. 215, how you doing? You say NAACP. Did he leave? I don't know what happened to Donovan. He says the NAACP convention is in Philly right now. Got you. All right. And William, how you doing? He says it's a clear case of self-defense. And keep on, what's going on? Which he says still have Boys Club and YMCA in Philly, yet crime is outrageous. And Tierra Moore, how you doing? He says, I'm from Baltimore, and all of the ones that that's out there are not boys. Some of them are grown men. When Stephanie Rawlings Blake became acting mayor after the Sheila Dixon scandal, she shut the rec center. So I think she shut down the rec center. So there you go. When you shut those type of things down, then you kind of displace the boys. And so you're absolutely right, too, as far as the grown men. There are a lot of grown men out there, squeegeeing windows to, make $1 or $2. And let's see here. Love JJ says, yeah, the youth centers are 90% gone. Exactly. Their job is their hustle. They too are trying to survive. Yes, indeed. And let's see who else came on here. Al, how you doing? He says, I see you, Donovan, the newest temptation with that red, with that cool red jacket. Exactly. Oh, David Ruffin ass. And Sharon Marie, how you doing? It says, representing Park Heights, we need forward-thinking civic LLC health parks needed in inner cities, mental, physical health, nutrition, dignity, unity, legacy. We need to lift our vibration. I love that. I totally agree with you. Jafia says, really hit him more places than his face. Unfortunately, hit him more places than his face. And they're trying to say that he was hit as he was walking away. So there's varying stories to what happened. And Sherry, he says, the situation is very sad. We have to protect and teach our children about economics. Donovan, you're right. We used to have a lot of community centers in our communities. Where are the parents? Yeah, the parents are probably, I don't know, but they're probably struggling too, or go out there and earn some money. I don't know.
Yeah, well, a lot of the parents, if you really think about it, are children themselves. That's another big problem we're having in our community. Children are having children.
Right. And Michael, he says, Donovan, do you think that Baltimore is I think he meant more than Los Angeles, or is it a collective of individuals trying to gentrify Black America?
Well, I think Baltimore being a fairly major city, it's like what they would call a B-rated city. It's not as big as Los Angeles or New York or Chicago or something like that. It's just a little lower, but it is an area that is beautiful. That Riverwalk area, I mean, that's prime location. So if you can gentrify the Negroes to get away from there, it's kind of like what they did in New Orleans. The best thing that happened, well, not the best thing that happened in New Orleans, but the best thing that happened to developers in New Orleans is when Katrina happened. It wiped all the Black folks away and moved them to Houston. Most of them went to Houston and stuff like that. And the developers came in and redeveloped it. And now a lot of those Black folks can't come back. And that's what they're doing in some of these cities where Black people are like located, where there's prime real estate. Baltimore is a centrally located, beautiful area when it comes to that inlet next to the ocean and stuff. And they want it. And they're going to get those Black people out of there one way, so anyway, anyhow. And unfortunately, you got Black leaders that have been paid white envelopes to help them do it.
Pioneer says most Democrat-ran areas are poor. Most Republican areas are wealthy. That doesn't mean voting Republican is going to improve your area, though. It just means those who are already rich do. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really too up to us. If a Democrat or Republican never improved our areas, there's some things that we could do as well, because a lot of times when we go through our communities and our neighborhoods or whatever the case is, we do see a lot of garbage and a lot of stuff that we can control, right? So it's like you live there, you see trash there. First of all, the common sense will ask you, well, how's it getting there? Some of it might be blowing in there, it's windy days and stuff. Okay, we'll concede that. But is there a lack of care about where we live? And, and are we helping to dilapidate those areas? And so while the politicians, they have a job to do, we also have a job to do. So, yeah,
it goes back to that saying, just because you live in the ghetto, does it have to be dirty? Does it have to be trashy? It doesn't. It doesn't.
El Hombre Negro, you says, do right by your city. Yes, indeed. And Tierra, you says, the officials here should do something that has gotten away. Gotten way out of hand. Baltimore was not like it is a few years ago. Baltimore has become a war zone that people are moving from Baltimore City. And LJJ, love JJ. You say, I don't believe that that under any party we have truly in the long term received fairness and equity that will sustain us. We continue to get the bottom of the barrel. Well, the other part of that too is we continue to vote for the bottom of the barrel. Elijah Cummings sat in that seat
30 years. 30 years.
It wasn't 30 years, 23 years. He sat in that seat 23 years from 1996 to 2019.
Died on the seat.
Yeah. So, but he continued to be elected. And I mean, even when Trump called him out to the carpet, because Elijah said something about him, and Trump was basically like, hey, you need to worry about your district, which is one of the worst districts in the nation. You need to worry about that besides talking about me. A lot of people got mad and defended Elijah Cummings instead of saying, well, Trump's a douche, but is he right? Like, if they wasn't The Wire written about Baltimore. Yeah. So it's like, what's really going on? I know it's a fictional show, but how much of that was really fiction? How many people say, well, yeah, that was pretty close to the truth, right? So, yeah, the Pioneer says, this is just like a third world scenario. Why are the police allowing young kids to run around in the streets washing cars? They shouldn't be allowed to do that and should be taken care of. So the other thing is this. A lot of the officials there are saying, okay, yes, the car washing is illegal. However, do we want to use police? Because it should be stopped, and not to the point of we're going to police these kids or arrest these kids or put them in the system, right? It should be stopped and giving them something else to do. But a lot of officials, city council people are saying, well, yeah, it's wrong, but we don't want to waste police resources on messing with kids. And as someone said, I forget who said, but there's men that's doing it as well. So you don't want that to become something where it gets out of hand as far as police brutalizing people washing windows, right?
Right. But remember when we were back when we were younger, you had truancy officers. They keep talking about there's no jobs and stuff like this. But yet when they cut these truancy officers off and all these programs off, look at all the problems that come with it. But we keep giving more money to the police department. Let's stop doing that and start putting resources back into the communities. That would make sense.
Yes, indeed. So I'm just going to skip down to some of the people I haven't seen, and then I'll pick up the comments. as normal. And Mr. Pyburn says, I grew up in Baltimore. The Squeegee kids have been there for a while. So yeah, there's people that live there and say, yeah, they're kind of like a staple, there in Baltimore. I think they said it was Essex County, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. And let's see here. The messenger, he says, two 14-year-olds in Philly are being tried as adults. That also happened on July 7th. Yeah, they're trying to rope these kids into the system very early, a life sentence, or trying children as an adult. I mean, y'all know how I feel about trying children as an adult. I think that when you're 14 years old, you are not probably going to be the same at 20 years old or 24 years old. Also, when you try a child as an adult and try to give them a life sentence or the death penalty or whatever that may be, there's no room for redemption in that at all. So yes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And Sunlight says, so let the so-called, and how you doing, by the way, let the so-called natives tell it they are an oppressed people. Okay, so you're talking about in Baltimore or something else? I'm sorry.
No, on the casino, the casino folks.
Oh, got you. And let's see who else came on here. And I'm going to get back to you. Bogani, how you doing? You say, excellent point, Donovan. And Ricky, he says, Dimitri, those pictures of you posting on Facebook sweating on the car make your face look like a melting scoop of ice cream. Aw, thank you. I don't feel like ice cream when I'm running. I feel like something else. Extreme X, how you doing? It says Elijah Cummings didn't do a damn thing for Baltimore. Nothing. I take the word for it. Black America says all of those poorest states and poorest communities are in Republican-held districts.
Well, yeah, when you're talking about the rural areas, yes, but guess what? They're on code. So they're, they don't have a problem with their situation because guess what? There ain't no Negroes out there. So they're loving it in their double wides.
Yes, indeed. Hello, Marshawn Disney Diva. Long time no see. How are you doing? And Bogani, yes, they are charging this one child, the one that did the shooting. They are charging him as an adult.
Where are they parents at?
Well, the parents was actually on the on the video that I showed, basically saying this is a child, he's not a bad kid. He was defending himself, that kind of thing.
He should have been at home. He should have been learning his ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and all that other stuff. You got the kids just running out there, wow packing. Come on.
Nuke, how you doing? He says the dropout rate is very high as well. These kids are being failed from every angle. Yes, from the research that I did, it said that one of the Squeegee kids, like I said, he dropped out at 9th grade. He says, for what? What am I going to school for? I'm not learning nothing. I'd rather be out here trying to make some money. So, but in the studies and the statistics backed up what he was saying, that they're not really learning anything. And the money that's being, I guess, supposed to be allocated toward the kids is like $15,000 per kid, is not really being allocated the right way. So like you said, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
And how many of you guys have states that have lotteries where the lottery is supposed to help the schools? That has never happened. And if you don't believe these schools are failing, ask R. Kelly. He can't read nor write.
Craig, how you doing? He says, I'm from Baltimore, and they're trying to make a little money, but it's so many of them that it scares the drivers as the parents. Most of them are trying to make some money too. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody just wants to be out there like, hey, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I'm sure there's other stuff they'd rather be doing. And like you said, I mean, I've seen corners where there's a few people, trying to squeegee the window or whatever. So yeah, I can imagine it gets kind of aggressive out there. And then especially somebody's trying to pay, is like, oh no, I'm gonna do it. So I could kind of see that. And let's see here. Bobby, what's going on with you, Monet? He says, I don't see our people doing these jobs on the corners where I live. I see Caucasians begging for money at intersections, holding signs and claiming to be hungry. Yes, I see that out here in Houston as well. There's one corner, there's one there faithfully, like every day. I'm like, he probably balling. Harold, how you doing? And let's see here. And Mad Marks, 1983, how you doing? He says, people take more pride and litter less in areas there most residents own their homes. Yeah, that's a discussion I was actually having with my brother earlier. And he said he was having a discussion with somebody that says that kind of tend to find that where renters are. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I would imagine if you're a homeowner, you probably do take a little bit more pride in where you live. And Marshawn said, that's my apartment. And that's my apartment in a nutshell. Hot mess and no one cares. The environment I live in is a hot mess. I do what I can to clean what I can inside the apartment, but no one cares. But this too shall pass. And people should care. And Jay Bubba, how you doing? He says, question, did you see Rolly, the Boule meltdown last week with that foul sassy mouth? I did not see it. I heard a lot about it, but you guys should, more importantly, should check out that of our brother Phil Scott, the Phil Scott audio experience, where he breaks it down and basically tells us that we should not be focusing anymore on Roland Martin because he's where he's going to be. You know, and he basically said he is a failed TV personality or whatever it is. Go check it out. He
failed journalist.
Yeah, Brother Phil took mastery of the situation and breaking it down. So it's on the podcast audio experience. Phil Scott, y'all go check that out. And let's see here. And Craigie said Trump was right, and Robin says, but Trump wasn't lying though. And one, who cares? How you doing? Good evening to you as well. Sunlight says Baltimore may be prime real estate, but NOLA, New Orleans, definitely is not so. So as many as well-to-do outsiders buy that overpriced land that's sinking into the ground, we'll see who gets the last laugh. Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing in Houston. They want to gentrify Houston because Houston's under, isn't Houston under the water?
Not as
water
much
level?
as New Orleans is, but yeah, it is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 6 feet. And I know New Orleans is 10, if I'm not mistaken. And the Pioneer says, I would absolutely use law enforcement to keep children from being exploited or setting themselves up for danger on the street. That's what they're there for. Yeah, so no, I agree with that. But as far as, because you know, when the police get involved with our people, it'd be everything else but help. And next you're gonna see the kids getting roughed up and beat up and and a lot worse. And so that's why I think we kind of really should be careful with that train of thought. But I get where you're going. So I don't totally disagree with it, but I think overall it could be very dangerous. Love JJ says, I'm no Trump supporter by any means, but what did he say that was actually a lie regarding Black communities? Absolutely nothing that was a lie. But again, a lot of people defended Elijah when he said that simply because it was Trump that said it. But Trump was like, hey, don't be trying to talk about me. You need to worry about your backyard, homie. Your backyard is among the worst. You don't have time to be talking about me. You need to get up there and clean up your area. So, but again, a lot of people defended that. A lot of people, Democrats, how dare he? Elijah comes and did all this, that, and the other. But it's like, but y'all glossing over what Trump said, though. Is he telling the truth? I know he's a special kind of guy, but is he telling the truth or is he not? Let's deal with that, right? And Nuki says the police reach out to these kids and try to direct them to city resources. Well, that's good to know if they're truly doing that.
Yeah, but how many city resources are there? I mean, I'm in California, and I can tell you in the city that I live in, there is almost no city resources for youth in my city.
Got it. And so you're saying, Mr. Firebrain, The Wire was true. I remember when those things happened. The writer for The Wire was a Baltimore Sun newspaper writer. So there you have it, right? And Easy says Donovan and Starbucks say they're closing stores due to the increase of crime. How hypocritical. No businesses are exempt from crime. True. Donovan says conservatism is a cultural, social, and political philosophy that seeks to promote and preserve traditional social institutions and practices. I see nothing wrong with this, especially if it's ours. Okay. And Freddie B, what's going on with you? And he says, let's hit the like button. Yes, please. And thank you. Hit the like button. Also, we have ways to donate to the channel if you want to help become a member and all of that. But at the very least, like the video. Michael says, Donovan, I meant to ask, is Baltimore worse? Okay, got it. Worse than Los Angeles in terms of crime, etc.
Well, if you're asking me my opinion, there is no law enforcement agency outside of New York City that will bust and kill Black folks quicker than LAPD. So I would say because we have such a big police force that isn't planned, I would say we're worse, and that's because we have a bigger population.
Yes, indeed. Hello, Dan. You say, do the crime, do the time. Age ain't nothing but a number. Yeah, I mean, I guess R. Kelly said the same thing. But, I mean, to me, it's more to it than he just shot a guy. Was it self-defense? Those are obviously the questions they'll have to ask and answer during the trial. Was it self-defense? Why did you get out of your car? Why did you have a bat in your hand when you got out of the car? Why did you cross potentially 4 to 8 lanes to go over there and get into a confrontation with kids who obviously annoyed you, but why? So, you know what I'm saying? So there's all these why did you do what you did type of thing. So it's easier. It's a lot more complicated than that, I would imagine. But to try to send a kid up the river for the rest of his life, and he's he's 15 now, but 14 at the time, I can't get down with that. And Tanya, how you doing? He says, no, I live here, not Essex, all over, especially downtown. No, I'm saying I think that happened. If I'm not mistaken, and you would probably know better than me, did that happen in the Essex area? So I'm not saying it's not just that area, but I believe that particular incident happened there. And welcome, by the way. And so Mr. Pie since Essex County is a white area. Got it. So maybe I don't know. Y'all tell me, why would they be there? Maybe more money. I don't know. And El Hombre Negro, he says, Las Vegas is in a desert. Yeah. All right. Who else is on here? Don't need no man. How you doing? I'm gonna ask you about that title. The whole name is Don't Need No Man. Stop telling me I do. I'm interested in knowing why you named your YouTube channel that. I'm very intrigued. And let's see here. Honeydew says, I live in Philly, and those kids were out at 2:40 a.m. 7 of them. They literally stomped out a 73-year-old man, tried as an adult. No, but what the F? So I did hear about that, but I didn't hear the particulars of who it was. And I'm actually seeing a little video of it. It was very disturbing. Yeah, that's horrible. So I'm one of those people too who believe that if your children are out there doing crimes like that, I think you should go hand in hand to prison with them. I don't think the child should go do the time by themselves. I think the parent, at least one of them, should have to do that bid with them, at least some of it, due to your child being out at 2:40 in the morning. Pam is jamming. He says, yes, Trump talked about the city's trashiness. However, didn't the community come together and clean it up? So much for that. Or did they come together clean? I don't know. Did they? Maybe they did. And Moni says Donovan is right. Extreme poverty. He says tour raggedy and disgusted in those that are Republicans. In many cases, have a lot better neighborhoods. People that are making very good in their finances are better. But that's true. I'm not saying that's not true. However, what does that got to do with our state of mind? I tell you all the time, my dad says the ghetto is not necessarily where you live. It's in your mind. So because you live in an area that is not doing well, what does that have to do with you? And I'm not saying it's all the situation, but even if the wind is blowing it in, right? Like, because when I lived in California, I lived in Riverside, where every day around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the Santa Ana winds will blow in for an hour or two. And for whatever reason, where my house was situated, I would always get all the garbage that, in the neighborhood, in my yard, or right on my doorstep. Now, I could have said, I didn't do that. I'm going to leave it there. I was like, no, it's time to sweep up the garbage or the papers or whatever that blew in there. So some of that is on us as well.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, in my city, we have a city app, and they cut the code enforcement people that are supposed to clean up the trash and stuff because of the economic whatever. They want to cut it, right? But they have a city app. So instead of in my neighborhood, whenever I see graffiti, I use the city app, and then the graffiti people come out within 24 hours and clean it up. Now, I could easily just walk by it and let my neighborhood deteriorate, right? But I don't do that. I go and I do what I need to do using the city app, and I contact who I need to contact to keep my neighborhood to the best that I can do. And I even highlight when these kids are graffitiing, because some of those parents know the writing of their kids. And I show them, you guys know who this is out here doing this, loves Liz. Who's in love with Liz? Everybody knows in the neighborhood who that is.
Absolutely. And Craig, he says, until policy changes, we will continue to have people that are trying to survive. Making a fruitful activity illegal is an anti-Black policy decision. I totally agree with you, because that's what it'll be. It'll be more reason for, the police to go out there and continue to brutalize Black people. So, and M Penny 69, how you doing? He says, don't spray my windshield unless I ask. I'm 100% with you on that. However, sometimes, they do that, but it's like, it's annoying. I've had it happen to me. It's annoying, but do you get out your car with a baseball bat and you see a group of kids clearly outnumbered? So it was like, you didn't think they had a gun, did you? So those are the things I think we need to think about. I mean, I've had it happen to me plenty of times. And if I have the money on me and they do it, here's $1, whatever it is. Okay, thank you so much. Most of the time, I'll say most of the time. Some of the times my window don't look better than it did, but whatever. The A for effort,
Right. Well, didn't Keenan Ivory Wayans do a skit on that in Living Color where the guy jumped on your windshield and he's trying, as the car's driving, and he's trying to clean it?
Absolutely. Michael, you says cash reparations are needed for not only Black America, but for Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, in Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore is about 60% Black, if I'm not mistaken. And those of you guys who live in Baltimore, please tell me if I am wrong. The Pioneer says, first of all, if you're an adult who can barely take care of yourself, you shouldn't be a parent, period. It happens once by accident. That's one thing. But if you keep having kids, that's stupid. Now, I would totally agree with you on that.
Well, yeah, but when we have a system that incentivizes especially our community and impoverished communities to have babies and put them on the system to where they get manipulated into thinking, okay, I'm not going to live up to my main potential because the government's giving me Section 8, the government's giving me food stamps, the government's me doing that. It's keeping me in the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party gives free shit. It's all by design.
I mean, I guess I kind of get that, Donovan, but then the other part to Pioneer's point, yeah, stop having the children because I mean, most people have been on welfare. We know how much it costs to raise a child. Hell, it's a lot of money. It's not cheap. And so what the government will give you to raise a child, I don't know what it is. Was it $400 or $500 a month? I don't know. Y'all tell me. But I don't. Yeah, I can see where you're going. It could kind of incentivize, but it's not lucrative for anybody to have a child for some food stamps and some money. I think at the end of the day, again, even if the government does incentivize people to do that, the onus should be on you. Do I want to keep having all these kids I can't take care of, or am I gonna make better decisions regardless?
Right, exactly.
Of what they're giving me?
Exactly. Well, look at the Democratic Party here in California. You could come here from over the border and they'll give you everything like that. And then these guys come here and they come in under Democratic policy, and then they become citizens or whatever, get their anchor babies or whatever they need to do. Next thing you know, they're voting Republican and they're calling themselves white.
Go chuck yourself. How you doing? He says, let's not forget this was a child with a gun. So yeah, where was the parents at? What involvement did these parents have with this child that they didn't know he was out in the streets with a gun? I totally agree with you. And those are also the same questions that are asked of these white supremacists whose children are out there, wreaking havoc on everywhere in the world, in the United States, if we want to bring it closer to home. So I totally agree with you. And a lot of the cases, I don't know, maybe the parent doesn't know the kids have a gun, but in a lot of cases they do. So I think you raised some good questions. And as Jan Michael, you say educational system barely teaches us to fill out job applications, nothing more.
Oh, yeah. I got a question for you, Jan Michael, real quick. I mean to cut you off, Demetra. They also don't teach you about American government and how the government works. So the less you know about your rights, the less that you are going to go and utilize them. That's why they really don't talk about government while you're in school. They don't teach you anything about it, what your basic rights are. Right now, if I asked a bunch of you guys, name me the first 4 amendments of the Constitution, you can't even tell me.
Sunlight says, anyone ever notice how most people have no problem with white panhandlers? Exactly. But that's kind of, where I was going to as far as trying to, use the police to, stomp that out as far as the squeegee boys or water boys or whatever you want to call them. And blah, 21 blah, 22 blah, 23. That's crazy, but that's funny too. He says, I have lived here in Baltimore and have never had a problem with the squeegee kids. Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that too. Usually they're, pretty cool and mild manners. It's not all squeegee kids, if you will, that are doing that. And only Pamela's Way, he says, it's a shame the children were trying to make an honest living and some dumbass grown adults hopping out of his car with a bat. The children were protecting themselves. And that's what their defense attorney is saying. And Thundery says, conserve protects something, especially in environmental or culturally important place or thing from harm or destruction. Once again, I see nothing wrong with this. Let's get back to the old ways. Yeah,
absolutely.
But in court, they will have to argue that out. And I should also say that his attorneys, he's supposed to be some, really, and you guys might know his name. It skips my mind. I'm sure you guys in Baltimore know of him. A Black attorney. He actually was looking for the kids because he was like, I want to represent them pro bono because it's basically his bull. So he says, I'm going to donate my services to try to get him a fair trial. And, it sounds like it was self-defense to me.
I got a question for you. Is Reverend Al going to be there? Has he made it down to Baltimore yet to speak on behalf of these young people?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Wow. Isn't that strange? All these Democratic shills and Democratic representatives, they don't show up when it's the basic everybody's kids type stuff. Only when it comes to the big, we got to get Brittany Griner out of jail. She just admitted she did it. But yet you got Sheila Jackson Lee and all these 100 Black women doing, and that's a different thing, I understand. But what my point is this: when it comes to the regular kids like this, in this situation, these people are silent. Why?
Well, I mean, and I hear what you're saying, but I think it does kind of muddy the waters a little bit to try to throw in politics in this. Yeah, there's a lot of politics involved, but I mean, come on, do we really expect for Al Sharpton or Sheila, any of those people to really make a comment about that? I mean, they're not going to. I think this is really more of a local issue, more than anything a city council thing, because we know that they have more pull in regards to those areas than any of it. But I think we really need to discuss. I mean, like I said, it's a multifaceted conversation in regards to the parents, the children, the system, lack of jobs, lack of education. And so it's a whole bunch of ingredients that went into that very day, in addition to the white man thinking that his white privilege and his metal baseball bat was going to, rule the day. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And Blah 21, he says, what I do see all the time is white panhandlers working the corners like an 8-hour work shift. They do. So I said, I wonder how much money they're making. And Frankie's Worthy. I hope I said that. How you doing? He says Nola is 26 feet under sea level. Woo! That makes sense. And Tanya says, leave my city alone. I don't think we're I don't know. What are we doing? You also say he told the truth, so you're talking about Trump. Okay, got you. And Pioneer says, I hear what you're saying, Queen. When the cops get involved, often they use it as an excuse to abuse and be heavy-handed. But until we get our own police, we have to use what we got right now. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Or how about, we figure out as a way to, as a people, to try to do better so that our children are not on the corner squeegeeing, because it's dangerous too. Somebody could get hit by a car. I mean, so there's a lot of factors involved with that. But yeah, I agree with you, but I just don't really like the police aspect of it. I think maybe they need to try to find something else to do. And Jafia, you say Nolens is about 7 feet below sea level. Yeah, I thought it was 10, but 26 feet. That's woo.
Well, depending on where you're measuring it from.
Got you. And let's see, who else came on here? Super Patriot, what's going on with you? All right. And you say, I'm with the Squeegee kids. Okay. And let's see who else came on. M Penny 69 says Nala, New Orleans, says was intentional oversight. They knew those levees would not hold. That's why they always flood indigenous people land. Look at Lake Lanier, etc. Yeah, I watched Spike Lee's When the Levees Broke. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. A lot of testimony of people who said they heard an explosion before those levees broke. So that's a very interesting documentary. I press upon you guys to check it out. Mr. Pie Brain says Baltimore, but Baltimore is worse for murders. The kids are killing each other. Yeah, and that's probably true for a lot of inner cities and places like that in America. Nuki says, I think the kid might beat the first degree murder charge, but will be convicted for illegal possession of a gun. And that's where I think it should be. I totally think that's where it should be. With that, trying to send him up the river for the rest of his life, that is, to me, that's cruel and unusual. Yeah, he took a man's life, but he didn't go just take the man's life like, hey, he's minding his business. Let me go do this to him. The man, jumped into harm's way, if you will. So I like that. I totally agree with you. And let's see here. Sean West, how you doing? It says, facts, no telling what dude would have done with the back to them. Yeah, I mean, that we would have been telling a whole different story. Fat son, how you doing? And Jafai says, one of the 14-year-olds who killed the man in Philly turned himself in. I felt so bad for the victim's family. I have to look more into that. And Yanni, you says Black homeschooling has increased after COVID lockdown. Parents were able to see these failures for themselves. Yes, and we know that kids who are homeschooled tend to do much better than kids who are not. And let's see here. Honeydew says 2 kids were 10 and 12 years old. Their parents definitely need a penalty. I mean, where can we get control and sanity? Yeah, the children were that young. It's like, what in the bleep were your children doing out at 2:40 in the morning at 10 years old? Wow. Let's see here. Pioneer says, no, we don't want to make squeegeeing legal. Okay, you don't want that. It says, we want to make it illegal for kids to be running around in the streets doing it. Find them another method of making money. Let's use logic. So I agree with you on that. We should find different programs. As I said, when I was a kid, I worked at the summer youth program, and I made pretty decent money for a 15-year-old during the summer. I was a camp counselor, and it gave me something to do, and I got money in my pocket, and I was able to buy me some school clothes. So I agree with you. And Alex says, the problem.
You call those school clothes? I call those shoestrings.
Shit. I was dressed fresh to death in the 9th grade, okay? Al says the problem will be is where and why did the kids have a gun? Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. That should be looked into. Why did he have a gun? Where did you get the gun from? So I don't think we should overlook that. But the fact that he had it, problematic. But what if he didn't have it? You know what I mean? And if, like I said, there's a lot of stories coming out about what happened, who said what to who, and all that other stuff. So yeah, it is problematic. Humbre Negro says kids should be watching cars, etc. Or do you mean washing cars? And William says bring back the trade schools. Yes, ROP, Regional Occupational Program. I was in that, and a lot of other people where you could go cosmetology, wood shop, auto mechanic, culinary. There's a whole lot of things that you could do. I don't know if they have those necessarily anymore. And Tanya, you said leave my city alone. Do your history to the city. It was always like this. Okay, well, I never said that. It wasn't always like that. Admittedly, I do not live in Baltimore, so I don't know what it's like. I just have to take you guys' word for it. But let me finish, Donovan. So you're saying, to leave your city alone, just unfortunately is where this incident happened. So it's not a matter of picking on your city per se. It's just really highlighting the issue of a 14-year-old at the time, 15-year-old who was being tried as an adult for what some are perceiving to be self-defense. So I'm sorry if it's coming off as we are picking on your city, but that's not the intent.
Yeah, and then speaking of the city of Baltimore, I used to visit there a lot when I was in the military, flying in and out of there. And I'm going to tell you, in the late 80s, early 90s, Baltimore was beautiful, and the areas were pretty much a typical, 1980s type situation. It wasn't really bad. Now, in the time from that time until now, it has eroded exceptionally in the time from when I saw it then to where it is today. So that's just my personal observation. So, sometimes you just got to call it the way it is, because if it is like you're saying, the city was always like that, then I have to call in the question to people who want to live in an environment like that.
Absolutely. Easy says D, three or more of us together doing anything are considered a gang. That's the way Black males are viewed, especially from a law enforcement perspective. You're absolutely right. And so to kind of want to throw the police into that, and I guess they're supposed to regulate it to some degree, but now that this white man has been killed, how austere are they going to start dealing with the the people who are squeegeeing now? So I think we should also take that into consideration. And Super Patriot, I'm sorry, he says the kid had a gun because some adults will run at them with bats. Fat Son, he says, have you guys seen the teacher? How have the kids, the kid, I think you meant, okay, how they gave the kids the money award. No, sorry, rewrite your comment over, because I think it's kind of jumbled a little bit. If you I don't want to misread it, so if you can write it over and I'll get to it. Who else is on here that I have not seen? Cultural Gardening. Lisa, how you doing? He says, yes, Demetra, Baltimore is 60% Black. So that's quite a bit, right? And Mr. Pie Brain says, you only have one child to be a parent, accident or not. Now, without abortion, what message are they sending? Well, we know what message that they're sending. They're not necessarily trying to send it to us. They're trying to send it to their own people. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw today. I think there's one senator in Texas and somebody else, maybe they're in Texas. They actually want to impose a law that says child support starts at conception.
Oh, hell no. I mean, we get
And it's
bad as it is.
retroactive.
Because what if I'm not the father?
Well,
I know they can get the DNA, while.
But that's the law that they're trying to impose, or they want to, enact that law. I don't think it'll pass because they'll probably be voted out by a lot of dudes. But yeah, they want.
No, it won't because there's a lot of dudes when the child support system thing came into effect even now in the 90s. So those simp dudes are going to vote for that anyway.
Michael says, Demetri and Donovan, do you think that Black America needs to be like South Africa? And what do you mean like South Africa? Because that's a whole loaded question. So if you don't mind clarifying it and go.
You don't want to be like South Africa. We were there. Tell them, Demetri.
Well, that's why I wanted to know exactly what he meant by that. And go check yourself. He says, no, the kid had a gun because he was a thug and a hustler. Asked him to clean their windows, and nobody wanted him to clean their windows, but he took it out on himself to try and intimidate the driver. Well, okay, let's say that part of the story is true. Why did that dumbass get out the car? Why did he get out of his car with a bat? So intimidation, you're saying the kid tried to intimidate the driver. The driver had moved on, walked across 4 to 8 lanes. So he came back with the bat. So who was doing the intimidation? You see what I'm saying? So I hear what you're saying, but don't forget to leave out the driver got his ass out the car. And, unfortunately, they'll be having a funeral for him. Let's tell that whole story, if you don't mind. And let's see who else came on here that I did not see. And I'm going to get back to you guys' comments. Yeah, Pioneer, you changed your what do you call it? Profile picture. And let's see. Wilbur, you say, I have worked for bad schools with low numbers, and I have worked for good schools with high numbers. Those so-called good schools was their numbers. Yeah, I believe you. And Pioneer says, but why are children being forced to be out there trying to make a living? What happened to the foster homes and other institutions designed to take care of children? Why were they on their own? Well, it doesn't sound like they don't have parents, because at the beginning of this, I showed the clip of the little boy's parents. They were speaking. So it doesn't sound like they don't have parents. It just sounds like they're out there trying to make money for whatever reason. So, yeah. And I hope I said this right. Umez, DJ Momo, how you doing? So you said Warren Brown. Oh, yes, that's the name of one of the attorneys. Thank you for that. And how you doing, by the way? And I am way behind. So let me catch up a little bit, because I see we talking about Al Sharpton on here. All right, Al, he's crazy. He says, the man who was killed, do you think he will contact the boy's family through a squeegee board? You know what? Yeah, wow. Thunder says, the real question is, if I say if a gun was used by that poor child, how is it possible for him to be able to get access to a gun, but not to help that was needed to keep him out of harm's way? Yeah, I mean, exactly. So it's a double-edged question, if you will. And Sean says, you're right, bro. Masons was out there talking real tough about abortion. And remember when Maxine was out there talking real tough about abortions. And remember when she was at the border about to cry. Got you. And Love JJ says, true. But politics, just like racism, is what we live on a daily basis and how we navigate through life and make decisions. Manolo, how you doing? And Jafia says, it's not 23 feet. Google it. It's 26 feet would mean that the entire town was drowned. I thought it was 10, but like I said, I live in Houston, so I don't even know really how below sea level we are here. But I thought 26 feet was a lot. And only Pamela's Way says, what was the name of the doc, the DOC? And I'm sorry, that's why I'm trying to catch up, because I don't know. When the levees broke. Yes, thank you. The documentary is what you meant. So thank you, Sunlight. Yes, when the levees broke. And Black America says, as young Black men, we used to cut grass, wash cars in the neighborhood, go to grocery stores, and push baskets to earn money. Young Black entrepreneurs. Absolutely. And I mean, maybe we could argue that, squeegeeing windows is a way to do it. Unfortunately, you kind of, when you mow somebody's grass and you wash a car, you got to get permission first. But unfortunately, with the squeegee thing, it's kind of like, here, I'm washing your window. Give me something for it. It's like, you want to get, acceptance, if you will, to do it. And Miss Lovelace, she said the youngsters should do 5 years of community service for the illegal gun. I agree with you on that. And go check yourself. He says, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about white panhandlers. Just for your information, there are a lot of poor white people in America. Nobody said there's not a lot of poor white people in America. Of course there is, because white people, and I don't know if you're white, so I don't want to assume, but white people are most in population in America. So yeah, that would make sense. But if you want to talk about the disproportionately, then yeah, it is black people, because we're about 12, 13, 14% of the population, depending on who you believe, and white people being about 60-ish or so. So yeah, those numbers, what you said, yeah, makes total sense. Michael says, Demetra and Donovan, do you agree with Phil Scott, African Diaspora News Channel, that black people need to migrate back to the South for better employment opportunities, black-owned business, etc.? I guess I do agree with that, and a lot of other economists, black economists, agree with that as well, simply because there are more black people in the South. Now, when there's more of you, there's power. Unfortunately, on the other side, legislatively speaking, a lot of the laws and things that are done in the South are not friendly to black people. But if we were to vote responsibly, and I do use the word responsibly, maybe we could change that. But yeah, why would you want to be somewhere where there's not that many of you? So we know that there's more black people in the South than anywhere in the United States. So yeah, just the numbers make sense. And let's see here. Sunlight says, also check out the mini-series Treme, very accurate portrayal of life after Katrina. I was there. It was a complete BS on all levels. I'll have to check that out. I love documentaries, so I will check that out. And Pioneer says, yes, we used to cut grass and wash cars, but that's not the same as running in and out of traffic, harassing drivers, and setting themselves up to be attacked or abducted. So yeah, good point. And that's kind of what I said as well.
Yeah, and you got to remember, though, we let the Hispanics come in and take over those type jobs for some reason in our communities. And I used to tell Demetra all the time, I would wait to see young black kids, to come cut my grass. If I waited for those kids to come cut my grass would never be cut, because they've been taught not to work and do labor, not in general, but it's just the nature of the beast now.
Gilberta, how are you doing? And let's see who else came on. And I promise you guys, I'm going to catch back up to these comments. And Suburbia Jones, I like that. How you doing? He says he brought a bat to a gunfight. Wow, you ain't lying. And Vinny Van, how you doing? He says, I think the Bible should be put back in school and rap music should be restricted. Now, they ain't going to restrict that rap music because there's a lot of money from that rap music and, keeping our people dead and asleep with those low gutter lyrics. So I agree with you, but they ain't gonna stop the money. Thunder says it's a damn shame that little boy was out there in a man's world trying to make an honest living and had to defend himself against a grown man. He was put in a position that most men would falter in. You make a very good point. I totally agree with you. And only Pamela's Way says, Sister Demetra, I worked all 4 years in high school and paid for school clothes too. Yeah, same here. I've been working really since I was 14, selling candy, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So, my parents didn't pay for my school clothes at all in high school. I paid for every last thing, whether it was track, whether it was choir, you name it, jazz team, I paid for it. But, I had the money, right? So I took care of it.
Union.
Black, all of that, everything I needed, graduation, I paid for it because I worked. So, I wasn't going to trick my mom, wouldn't have wanted me and my father to trick my money off on nonsense. Like, well, shoot, you need school clothes, don't you? Go on and buy it.
No, you need to get your nails done. You need to get that new shoe, all that
if I wanted to do those things, I could pay for it, but so yeah, I get it, Pamela. And Miss Lovelace, she says Kwame Brown is advocating to bring back trading in school. So trade in school. Yeah, I totally agree with you. We need that back. Because there's more to it. College is cool. I'm not gonna knock it. I went to college. Donovan went to college. A lot of y'all went to college, but there's a lot of our people who do not know trades. And Carter G. Woodson in the Miseducation of the Negro talked about that. We still need those things in our community. So yes, indeed. Big ups to Kwame Brown for that. And Angela Destiny, how you doing? It says women who have babies just to be taken care of by the government with housing, food, Medicaid, etc., are forgetting about their future, Social Security, pension, etc. They're only living in the now. Absolutely, because you got to think too, eventually those programs will be cut off. Especially if the Republicans have their way, they're going to start really regulating those things. And I think they should to some degree. I don't think people who need it should be cut off. But I think people who have made it a career, yeah, it's like, okay, what else could you really be doing? Because in a lot of those cases, people who are on those programs and they're on those programs for a very long time, a lot of those programs, you can go to college for free, have free child care, and, you know, they'll help you buy clothes and just a whole lot of things to get you going. And so at this point, there's really no excuse to not use those programs to be a little bit more forward thinking, I would think. And Honeydew says, Philly look like Baltimore. Some same things going on here too. Suburbia Jones says, instead of giving us financial reparations, make it illegal. Make it legal for blacks to carry guns. Well, I want both.
Yeah, didn't the Supreme Court shoot down the concealed weapons thing in some states, restricting it now? Because, matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to go apply for my concealed weapons permit. But that recently came up. So a lot of states now, concealed weapons permits are shooting through the roof right now as people are getting them.
Yeah, I mean, times are changing. So yes, absolutely. People are doing those things. And El Hombre Negro, he says, get that education, kids in schools, not prison. Yeah, well, we know what that is, right? Especially in our communities, school to prison pipeline is very lucrative. Pioneer says, oh, it was a white man who killed the kids. Who the kid killed. Yes, it was Timothy Reynolds was his name. And Thunder says, how do we know that the gun was his and not dropped by someone else, or after it was dropped, how do we know there wasn't a scramble for it? I mean, a lot of questions.
Good point. How do we know the cops didn't drop it off on him?
I mean, there's a lot of questions, right? You know, and Miss Lovelace, she says, I feel that the person saying, stop talking about his city. We must call the city out when our youth and the Black community are below poverty and suffering. You said it, I didn't. Pioneer says life starts at conception, but that doesn't mean that the soul enters the body at conception. Oh, we ain't gonna have that discussion. Yeah. Fat Son says, have you guys seen about the teacher that gave the kid the monkey award here? Oh, so it's a monkey award. I thought it was like a money, but you meant to say monkey award. I haven't heard about that. I mean, I've heard of similar situations about that. Are we surprised? We send our babies to these school systems with teachers that don't like them. And a monkey award, yeah, I wish they'd have gave my child a monkey award. Y'all have read about that? For real. And let's see here. Who else is on here? And Michael, so he says, South Africa, intact family values, no gun violence, etc. Well, that is actually a little
not true. We were there and somebody had just got killed the day before.
Yeah, and there's actually a little bit more to, you know, yeah, of course, intact family values, no gun violence. They have, you know, a little bit of everything going on there, but specifically, although apartheid is not legal there anymore, it's kind of hard to tell when Africans there are about 90% of the population and they own less than 10% of the wealth. It's very hard for Black people there because, you know, white people, just like over here, they running things, you know. So yeah, South Africa to be, you know, I guess maybe they're family oriented. I don't have any knowledge about whether they are or not.
Well, they're tribally oriented. That's their thing.
Yeah, but they have a lot of other issues, if that helps. Mm-hmm. And M Penny 69 says, I actually seen a video of water boys in Atlanta getting robbed by older guys in cars, so it's no surprise they will keep protection. So now we're hearing a little bit more of the story. Ain't that sad? These kids out there trying to make money, and you got these grown dudes robbing them. Like, what's really going on here, right? And Pioneer says, so for some reason, I presumed it was a Black man who got out of his car and got into it with the kid. No, it was a white man, ran himself across the street. And Anuki says the same day of the shooting, the city had job fairs and other events to get kids off the street. Wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate that they didn't go to it. I don't know, maybe they didn't hear about it, but it's very unfortunate. And Umez, I hope I said that right. DJ Momo, he says, thanks for the love. No, thank you for being here. Suburbia Jones said the kid had a gun because where he lives, other people have guns, lawful or not. Mm-hmm. Good point. Ollie, you said, oh, you found a house in Houston, huh? Okay.
Can I say something real quick? Now, remember in the 70s, we blame a lot of the downfall of the Black family to feminism. I did some research on that. I wanted to talk to you about that, Demetra. And that's not true. So I'm going to admit, I found out some research that it isn't all because of feminism and all this other stuff. You guys remember when we were growing up, Demetra? Well, when I was growing up, old school, most of our families worked in factories. Remember, Dad worked in factory. The Jacksons' dad worked in a factory, and they made good wages, right? Do you know when the fall of the Black family really started breaking up? It was not because women wanted to be independent and to go out into the world and do all the stuff like they wanted to do. It was when they started shipping these jobs overseas because they saw the rise of the Black middle class, and that was the way to keep us curtailed to do something. So we have to ask ourselves that as well. Not only do we need to bring back manufacturing and vocational jobs into schools, we got to stop shipping these damn good paying jobs overseas.
Yeah, I mean that and a whole host of other things. But yeah, I'm glad that you finally conceded that it wasn't feminism that dilapidated the Black community. I mean, very little, but this narrative, it's because you Black women went out with the white women. That's why the Black family where it is like, knock it off.
Yeah, and you got to think about it, man. When you ain't providing, thus the crack epidemic and drinking, the excessive drinking and the drugs and all that, you don't feel like a man because you're not providing for your family because there's no jobs. Good example, Michigan got hit real hard. They don't make cars in Michigan anymore. GMC plant in Ohio closed. These were pretty much Black areas. Baltimore, there were a lot of manufacturing jobs in Baltimore. They got shipped out of there. And thus you look at these areas where there was major manufacturing where Black people were working, it is now gone down. And that is a big thing. And I did some research on that like 4 days ago. Very, very telling.
Yes, indeed. The Pioneer says we should be all over the nation, not just the South. We should have a sizable population in every state to ensure we have enough power spread all over. We should be. But right now, we not. So why not be initially where everybody else is? I know everybody, all Black people ain't come to the South. I already know that. But it just makes more sense, right? That if we get closer together, maybe we can do more. I think that's the premise of it. Honeydew says, and how you doing, Deadshot? You say, I'd love to adopt, but it's sort of dangerous anymore. God help you if you accidentally lay hands, like grab them. Some of these kids will put charges on you. Yeah, or you could end up with the orphan. Y'all see that movie, The Orphan, where they thought it was a little girl, but it was a grown woman, and she was. They're actually making a part 2 of that. I might go check it out. It was really
kind of reminds me of Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, it was really creepy. They said actually that was based off of a true story, by the way. So. I love JJ says, I'm not saying school patrols shoot kids in the back. I'm saying like cops, they like being in control. Absolutely. And NIEC says, I would rather move to California than any other state. I'm just saying, I mean, me too. I'm a California girl, born and raised. I would love to go back to California, but economically speaking, I do better here in Houston, far better here in Houston. But California, yes, California is the place to be. I don't care what nobody say. The weather.
Well, I think where we're from, being in the Inland Empire, because we're centralized where everything is. You know what I mean? Everything, you got snow, ocean, desert, Vegas, Mexico. It's all centralized.
Yes, and Jafai says Black people need to live where they want, as we were enslaved throughout the U.S., not just the South. I hate when people try to tell Black people where they should or should not live. Well, yeah, I agree. Nobody can make you, but it's just a suggestion. Super Patriot. I don't know why I want to keep saying parrot. Super Patriot says, you mean smashed in the head with a bat. And Kiki, Miss Kiki, how are you doing? He says, Baltimore Squeegee boys, haven't heard about the story. I'll have to research it. Yeah. Squeegee boys are, they're the ones that it sounds like grown men too, who go squeegee people's windows at the intersection, this, like that, and the other. White man got into a confrontation with the kids. Guess he didn't want his window squeegee. He drove up, got out, walked across 4 to 8 lanes with a baseball bat to confront the kids, and then one of the kids shot him. So, and he's dead. And go check yourself. It said, let's be honest, these children do not have parents. Well, so yeah, I guess get where you're going with that, as far as they have people who had them, but parents are typically people who raise you. But again, I guess we would need to learn a little bit more about their circumstances, but I get where you're going with that. And Bogani says, when we were discussing the mentality of folks living in impoverished areas, we must discuss the many variables used against them through environmental racism, i.e. high levels of lead in the water. Yeah, and I want to talk about that stuff either. And that's typical in a lot of Black neighborhoods, right? And let's see here. Who else came on here? Let's see. Sunlight says college sucks, the biggest money grab ever. It is now. When we were, younger, college was a little bit more affordable. But now, shit, you got the, mortgage 15 houses or, refinance them rather than send your kid to college. And let's see here. Yes, so you guys are saying college is a scam. Some people, would agree. I went to college and I found it helpful. Jan Michael says he got out because he was, I think he said he got out because he was a white supremacist kin about to physically check those young men and got checked himself. Unfortunately, the judicial system won't see it that way. Of course, now right now they're painting him as a victim, like, oh, he was a family man. He had 4 kids, or how many kids he had. And it's so unfortunate, hardworking man, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, come on, tell the other side of the story. That hardworking man was clearly ready to go knock somebody's children's head off of their shoulder. So tell the whole story. And Thunder says, question, did you ever have time to read the platform's resolutions for 2022? I started. I have not finished. And yeah, it's comical, actually. It's comical. I read the one for Texas. It's comical in that they really trying to legislate some pretty funky things. And I say comical, it's like, are they serious? So I actually need to continue to read. It's like 40 pages or so long. I think I only got to like page 5, but I have started reading it. So yes, very interesting. And I'll put this up here if you guys want to check it out. Sunlight says, my degree reminds me every day, stupid is and stupid does. Well, I wouldn't discount it altogether because I'm sure you learned something. In hindsight, it's like, yeah, did I need the degree to do what I'm doing? Probably not. But, it is what it is. A lot of us went and got education because our family wanted us to. And, having an education is not totally a bad thing. So I wouldn't beat myself up too much.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, our parents didn't really have, a lot of us didn't really have the opportunity. So they wanted their kids to have it because that was the blueprint. You go to college, you're going to get a good job. But what they didn't realize was that isn't true. Now you've got kids that are still going to college, getting the debt, not graduating, and waiting on a Joe Biden to forgive the debt.
Right. Easy says, do I agree with you? Move back south. The reason we went north was to escape the brutal racist south for better jobs. In the north, people are seeing if you south of the Canadian border, you are south. Absolutely. And I think Malcolm X reminded us of that as well. So good point. And Damon, how you doing? It says late to the show. Positive vibes from Little Rock, California. Yes, indeed. How's the weather? I know it's pretty hot, right? And let's see. Pioneer says both Philadelphia and Baltimore are East Coast cities, so they are very similar, crowded, and made up mostly of old row houses and apartments. Got you. And only Pamela's Way says, no, the hell they didn't. A monkey award. Maybe they should check out the new study that just hit the circuit about the monkeys. Yes, indeed. And Miss Lovelace, she said Timothy Reynolds got what he deserved. He got out of his car with a bat to do harm to a minor and in turn got what he deserved. Youth protected himself. Yeah, I mean, I think really that's kind of how it should be looked at, right? And Hombre Negro, he says maybe they didn't listen. And Enrico, how you doing? It says late to the conversation in New York from Baltimore. I never understood why someone doesn't capitalize off the squeegee idea, black-owned business opportunity, khakis, polo shirt, name tag, etc. That is a very great idea. Somebody should just turn into a full-fledged business because people do need their windows cleaned every once in a while, right? And Pioneer says, I agree that these children shouldn't get robbed or harassed, but they shouldn't be out there hustling on the streets in the first place. That's not Brazil or Bangladesh. It's not necessary. Well, some people will say that in our neighborhoods, it does kind of operate more like, a third world country, if you will, or some people will say a developing country. You also say, excellent point, Brother Donovan, they purposely ship good factory jobs overseas in order to break up Black wealth. And Omans, you say, we don't have any businesses or factory work in America. Yes. Sunlight says, oh my God, Donovan, the world is coming to an end. Everyone go fulfill your last wishes. Hurry. Let's see who else came on here. And Lawrence, how you doing? It says Kodak in Rochester, New York closed a very heavily Black area. So you're talking about the Kodak plant with the camera, if you will, or is that a city? Pioneer says Queen Neely Fuller warned us about this coming together business. Just because we're concentrated in the South doesn't necessarily mean it will make us stronger. Our people were together in slavery. Yes, in slavery under different set of circumstances. But yes, I mean, I see both sides of it. Like I said, I see both sides of it. Sunlight says, Demetra, who is that sitting next to you? Like, you mean Donovan, or do you like see a ghost or something? Because if you see a ghost or something, let a sister know. Nobody's sitting next to me. I think that's not. Oh, I got you. Because Donovan did a 360 and said, "Oh my God, I've been wrong about feminism." Is that where you're going? Because you kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like, damn, is there a ghost or something next to me? Kiki, you say, okay, I just read a little background on the story. Granted, the kid shouldn't have had a gun, but no one's questioning why the man got out of the car and confronted these kids in the first place. Like, in no way was this considered standing one's ground or self-defense. First-degree murder just seems a little extensive. This wasn't premeditated. I mean, you have cops out here shooting men, running away from them, but a person coming at you with a bat isn't a threat. Exactly. And so that's what they will have to argue.
Kiki, when will you guys realize this is white man's country? The white man owns this country. Black people have no business raising a finger to the white man, especially a white man. When will you guys understand that? Until you guys understand that, nothing's going to change here.
Suburbia Jones, she says, don't believe it's a good idea to have all Black people in one spot. We wouldn't want another Black Wall Street. Yeah, that's what people are saying as well. You know, like, just drop a nuke. So I get that as well. Hello, Beverly, he says self-defense. And Mr. Pirate Brain, you say, Baltimore had good paying jobs at the docks at the inner harbor. No, it's just now it's just restaurant. I think he meant downtown. Had the McCormick factory that left and the power plant all gone. So yeah, the money dried up, and you know, that's the resources. And then of course you're going to have high crime and people trying to do what they need to do to survive. So good point. Moni says it comes down to something like this: when you have stacked your bread and you can afford a $1,200 to $1,500 a month, you want to treat yourself in a living in a nice area, stack your bread to cover it 3 years. Good point. I like that. And Michael, he says, Donovan, why do you disagree with Philip Scott about your brothers and sisters migrating back to South, such as Houston, Texas? Philip Scott said, I prefer overt racism over covert racism.
Well, again, I mean, I disagree with it for the simple fact that, you know, I've lived a lot of places. If we're going to make a mass migration out like that, why stay here? Let's just go. Find a place. There's plenty of land in Australia. It ain't, you know, primo land, but there's plenty of land in Australia or wherever we need to go. Let's go back to Africa. Let's go do that. I mean, why stay here and group ourselves to where all they got to do is just drop a bomb on that spot and then we're gone? And, you know, again, I'm from the South, or I was born in the South, and I just don't like the mentality down there, because it's like they get along with racism and they know where to go and where not to go. And I just can't accept that from being from the West Coast. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
But the other side of that argument too is Black people ain't that much better off in California or in New York or anywhere else. So it's like,
true, and that's why I say we should leave.
Yeah,
completely.
You know, right. So we're not. So to say that the South is raw. Yeah, I mean, I'm from California, and the South got its issues. Trust me, I ain't gonna lie to King it. I'm bewildered at a lot of things too, but we got issues in California as Black people as well. So Black people are just screwed everywhere. And go check yourself. He says, Joe Wright, I think you meant you're right. When they shipped those jobs overseas, it also destroyed the white middle class. That's true, but it disproportionately affected Black people more. You know, white people gonna be all right. One thing y'all, and I don't know if you're white, so I don't want to be presumptuous. White people gonna take care of each other. Black people will too, to a certain degree, but white people have more resources and opportunities to bounce back, if you will. So that's why when we say, and you know, other thing too, I think you have to ask yourself, did those jobs leaving dilapidate whole communities like that of Detroit when, you know, the motor plants dried up or whatever? That was what sustained a lot of Black America there in those areas. So did it dilapidate the white areas? If you can answer that.
Exactly. And then again, the average white person makes what, 11 times what a Black person family makes? So you're looking at what they make, 170,000 compared to the average Black family making 60,000. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. And I forgot to say hello, Marcus. If you guys are watching this on Facebook and you want me to read your comment, please click on the link and I would love to do so. Kiki, you say, I don't agree. Why say they don't have parents? The kids weren't out stealing, robbing, or anything like that. They were trying to make money, honestly. He says he disturbed them. Again, I'm not condoning the kids having a gun, but I mean, the deceased started the confrontation. He initiated the violence. I don't feel this kid should be charged with first-degree murder. I totally agree with you. They were kind of sort of where they were supposed to be. I know it's illegal, but he brought the action to them when he could have really just kept going. So, and hello, Gabrielle. How you doing? He says Cleveland is in the Midwest. Pioneer says, I got to fry up some turkey burgers right quick. Y'all don't get into anything too juicy while I'm gone. You always going to cook. Are you going to cook me a turkey burger or whatever it is you making? I'm hungry.
Well, he could just give you the bread.
Right. And Sharon Marie, how you doing? He says, we have turned away from God and we ignore and discount the most basic of fundamentals. The inner cities are concentration camps. We must incorporate to survive. If we think of foster kids, we improve. Okay. And let's see here. I love JJ says, Donovan, 10 hours crazy is like becoming a black belt in one day. The inception alone of policing should be the red flag, ass whippings, and violating the black human was and still is the goal. Yes, indeed. And Jackie Swain, how you doing? Says they gonna say the driver was stressed from the jab, or not the jab, but the virus, if you will. Is that what they're saying? Okay. All right. And then Moni says, Dimitri, did you see where this young man in Alabama is being given 65 years for crime he didn't commit when the officer killed his friend and they're blaming him for it? Like, really? I did not hear about that. Unfortunately, there's so many stories out there and horror stories, if you will. And Damien says, it's all about the hustle. As a kid, I cut lawns back in Landover, Maryland. I think that's what you meant. And hashtag Village Green Terrace. Yes, indeed. And Erica, how you doing? Let's see here and go. Google experience. You say racists want white people to move back to the South. True or false? I don't know. That's a really good question. So you said racists want black people. So I'll get you corrected. Okay. So let's see who else came on here so I can get to the bottom of these and then I'll catch back up. Freddie says they will never let us live in peace. Yeah, we know that, right? And Nuki says most of the southern states are poor and have underdeveloped infrastructure, but less taxes, also less labor protection. Yeah, that's why I said just being here, I'm seeing a lot of things that really wouldn't fly in a place like California. Not that California is all that much better, but damn. Yeah. Only Pamela's Way says, I'll say it again, separate. Fat Sonny says, white people know where and where not to go also. Mr. Pybrain says USA would not drop a bomb on all of Africa. No, because there's too many resources there. They ain't trying to destroy it.
Right.
And Thunder says, I read the whole thing and it was like, I was like, what the F? I agree with some of it, but if they attempt to do those other things to them folks, all hell is going to break loose. Stock up family, it ain't looking so good. Yeah, I plan to finish reading it. I have some spare time now for the next month or so. So I plan to do a lot more reading. And Sunlight says exactly the white middle class has generational wealth to fall back on. Come on now. Exactly. Sean, you say, I do believe our people need to all move like 3 or 4 states all together, but down south, weather and storms are too bad. I'm in Philadelphia and I never seen storms like down south. If I'm from California and I ain't seen it, I don't like it at all. I don't like driving down the street and seeing a big giant lightning bolt like, I don't like it. Help.
And a lot of us don't like the cold. I mean, Canada has a lot of land up there we can move to. Unfortunately, it's just that it gets cold. So,
yes, indeed, a super patriot. You say Don is on point. Michael says, Donovan, I understand where you're coming from in terms of migrating back to the South. I apologize if I asked that question because I just want your people to be happy and not fear racism, etc. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, as long as we're here in America, we will face racism. There's racism all over the world. But at least if we were to go to, Africa, we are the dominant people, if you will. Now we just need to dominate some of the wealth, more of the wealth than we are. And Damien said, you want yours with grilled onions? Yeah, Pioneer, we want ours with grilled onions. Honeydew says, no, it didn't, Demetri, because in Philly, there's still functioning factories in the wider areas like in South Philly and the Northeast Philly. Truth be told, North Philly is full of closed warehouses. Okay, cool. Manrico says, keep in mind, the high gentrification in Baltimore in the Squeegee areas downtown, that factors in as well with the large income disparities with within a half a mile radius, black to white. Good point.
Yeah, but that gentrification, I mean, we saw it here in Los Angeles. Every time I look at other cities, I see the exact same playbook. And it's like you try to warn people and say, hey, look, this is what they're doing. And nobody wants to heed the warnings.
M Penny 69 says, I seen a video where a 14-year-old girl gave her phone to a 10-year-old boy and an old man died. They hit him with the parking cone. Yeah, that's the one that, who was it? I'm sorry. Jafia, was that you that was telling me about that? Yeah, I'm going to look into it. I saw it last week, but I didn't read the details, but I saw the video. It's kind of blurred out. I was like, no, I don't want to see any more of that. Kiki says, we haven't turned away from God. Says Black people are and have been very committed to God. That's what kept Black people from collectively going postal in this country for all these years. I'm just saying, yeah, Black people we have a good grasp of God. We just don't always do the things that God and the Bible, Christians, tell us to do. And Thunder says one of the things I agree with was them wanting to end civil forfeiture. So I don't think I've gotten that far yet, but it's pretty trippy. I found myself chuckling a lot as I was reading it. Mr. Piebrain says now it's dangerous to knock on a white person's door to cut the grass. Yeah, very dangerous. I wouldn't want to do it, because they're shooting, talking about, I thought they were trying to kill me. It's like, no, I was just really trying to, cut your grass, but, down. Suburbia Jones, he says Donovan kind of resembles Tommy Davidson from The Living Color and Varnell Hill Martin, especially with that get up on. Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get it. I didn't mean to call your outfit a get up on me. I'm sure you're wearing that in all sincerity.
Actually, I'm not. I was in such a rush to get to the show. I just threw it on.
You got on red socks too? Got that red on red right there with the red socks.
Well, I do represent Pyru Crip.
Oh, with that blue hat on, huh? And Tawana, and if I didn't already, how you doing? He says, I'm not from the South. I'm from Chicago. I do not want to deal with in-your-face racism. I was a union steward for years, and we fought against this type of hate in the workplace. Yeah, and I'll tell you honestly, I don't really go outside much. I go to the store, to the park. So I don't really interact with a lot of people, and I'm not one to completely interact with a lot of people who are not like me. So I tend to stay home, and we still got that thing running around. We got that virus still out there on the loose, and people are still getting it. So I kind of don't want that. El Humbre Negro says bias all where. Mr. Pyrebrain, you say we should move to somewhere in Africa. It's much cheaper for us. Yeah, but that's a loaded argument right there. Why should we leave and all of that? Bogani says, I believe the factories didn't go overseas, at least not in full. They used slave labor via the prison system. The factories going overseas was just the excuse the government used. Yeah, so some of them did, and you're absolutely right about the prison system. They got the prisoners doing the work for pennies, literally, right? And Jafia, you say, I'm reading the comment. So I don't think Michael is a troll. Michael is, I believe he's Asian, and so he actually follows the African Diaspora News Channel. And
he's a good guy. He's got some good thoughts.
Yeah. So he's just asking questions. There's nothing wrong with that. So, Jan Michael says agreed. Better than the South. Question is, why would we be coming together or being herded together? I mean, that's a good question, but are we herded together? Or are we herded apart, depending on where you live? So.
Well, shoot, let's all roll down to Mexico since the Mexicans are leaving their country, coming here. Let's go into their country.
See, they got this thing called the cartel over there. Tawana says, in the southern states, they are doing their best to take us back to the Jim Crow South. You ain't lying, boy. I'm like, what I wouldn't do to see some palm trees and mountains right now. Some beaches. It's hot, but California, I mean, it's racist, but we ain't got to be dealing with all of that.
Right. Yeah. The racism in California is covert. I mean, they ain't going to do it right in your face. They're going to do it like legislation behind your back. You get fired, like, because this is what do you call that when you're, they can fire you for any reason? Well, what's that called again?
At will.
Yeah, it's an at will state. So they'll fire you maybe because you're black, and they don't have to tell you why. They just say, get the hell up out of here. But then that's when you're supposed to be smart and go get your unemployment.
Got you. Morning, a cooking channel. You know, maybe one day I'll cook something and put it on the channel. Go Chuck Yourself. He says, well, honestly, I don't know if it destroyed whole communities. I know it destroyed my family. And to answer your question, I'm not white, but I'm kind of off-white. Okay. Are you beige?
Well, you got to remember, though, the manufacturing jobs, that was a big boom for black people. That's why a lot of us migrated out of the South. And that's what really got a lot of black people. We didn't really get the New Deal like the white people did, but that's what helped us kind of elevate. And when they saw that we were sustaining communities, like a good example, like where Moni's from in Detroit, you can go down there, you've got whole neighborhoods where the houses have just been abandoned, and you know they're selling them on online and stuff. And that's happened around the country where they have these Gary, Indiana, another big manufacturing city. And notice it only happened in these black areas. They just ship the jobs off, and then the 80s come, and then the crack and the family start breaking down and all this other stuff because the father just could not sustain supporting his family.
Yeah, all of it was by design. Every last bit of it. Michael, you say, where's my Texas accent? You know, when I do speak to people out here, they be like, you from California, huh? I'm like, how can you tell? They say your accent. I was like, I didn't even realize I had an accent, but okay.
Yeah, only when you sing Country Road do you have your accent. Howdy.
How do Texas have? How y'all doing there? I'm fair to middling. How you doing? I don't know why I just think country people talk loud. I mean,
hey,
I'm loud. I don't know. Go check yourself. Says while the average family makes 16. While the average white family makes $160,000 a year, no, you're just taking the average. The average white family does not make $160,000 a year, including multiple millionaires and billionaires. So you're absolutely right. It's what is it, like 60? But I think Donovan was probably referencing that of the average net income, net wealth. I guess that's what we're trying to say.
Net wealth. I mean, it's been proven that white people are 10 times more wealthier than the average black family.
So the average wealth. So when we say wealth, we're not talking about income. We're talking about wealth is actually that of about 171,000 to about 17,000 of black people. So there's where that income gap, that wealth gap comes from, which is also said that it take about 232 years to close that wealth gap without the infusion of reparations and other things. So,
yeah. And if you really think about it, the majority of black people, most of their wealth is in what? Their car, because most of them rent. They don't have any wealth. 2007, 2008, a third of all black housing disappeared. So majority of our wealth is in our car.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of reading some of these comments. Yeah, at will. And how you doing, Francine? I hope I said that right. Yeah, at will. California tends to be an at will state. Like, well, and it's tricky. So they don't have. They can fire you for. They can let you go. They don't have to. You know, like they have these probationary periods and things like that. They can sidestep that. However, because I was an at will employee that was fired by Chase Bank, first time I've ever been fired, and she fired me for no reason. I did my job, was never late. Didn't have any bad customer service interaction. In fact, my customers loved me very much, met all my numbers. So when I had to file for unemployment, believe me, I was getting my money. The lady asked me, she says, so you didn't do anything wrong? No, I didn't. They're not going to tell me that there's money was missing or anything. No, I ain't going to tell you that. She goes, I'll tell you what, if I call them and they said that they can't give me a reason why they fired you, she says, this is the unemployment office. Not only will they be fined, they're going to pay a higher tax bracket because while they are at will, they cannot just arbitrarily let people go, terminate you, for a reason that's made up. And she called him and she called me back. She said, do you know they could not give me a reason as to why they fired you? I said, I can't. She's a jealous. That's why they fired me. So she says, I told them you will be paying a higher tax and you will be fined for doing that. You cannot just let people go and make up stuff. Because she said the lady, the manager, the biatch, had a hard time telling her why she let me go.
Yeah.
I said that's why I couldn't explain to you why I'm not there anymore, because she, fumbled telling me why, but she was just a jealous old mayonnaise-y.
Well, or was it that time me, Walter, and Jeremiah went in there and asked you to put the money in the sack?
No, sir. No, sir.
Like, what movie was that?
No such a thing.
Where the girls were robbing the place? Vivica Fox? Yeah, set it off.
So Penny 69 says, I'm in California, and it's just it's racist, wrongful termination. They use reduction of force. My old foreman was a Proud Boy. I didn't know until my brother showed him on TV in San Leandro at a library. Yeah, so they do have at will. Yes, Sunlight is net worth. So that's what it is. It is at will, but they can't just be firing people. They got to be able to say, well, this is why we let them go. Just making up stuff, yeah, because that's not cool. So needless to say, I got all my money. I got the max unemployment. And, it was great. It really was. All right, so let me get down to the bottom here. See, I'm at the bottom. What? Mr. Pie Brain says, Texas country is where you call the floor the flow and the door the dough. Okay, yeah. California, we kind of talk like that too. But yeah, I'm not hanging around enough people enough to pick up a country accent, I don't think. We'll see. Honeydew says about a month ago was a guy in this chat talking mess about Black women, then later went on the TLA channel and told his story. Loser trying to see his kids after 10 years. Really? And who was that? Let's see here. I'm just going because I'm at the bottom, which is kind of like, wow. And Damon says, best read is Black Labor, White Wealth by the great Dr. Claude Anderson. Yes, I actually need to get that book. I have Powernomics. There's a whole lot of books that I need to get. I'm one of those people. I don't spend money on a lot of money on clothes, but I do like books. So I do plan to get that one. That is what I understand, very compelling. And yes, Powernomics. And I love JJ. He says, I think some states allow at will employment. Yeah, California is one of them. And go check yourself. He says, well, I love the way you're approaching each and every comment that you read. Everybody has a voice. You may not always agree with it, but at least you're acknowledging it. Absolutely. And that's, you know what? I'm glad that you got the premise of this platform. We're not always going to agree because I don't like being in spaces where everybody agrees, but I don't like being in spaces where everybody is fighting and disagreeing. It's like, let's have a conversation. Let's learn from each other. We may not agree, but, it's all good, right? We don't hate each other's guts afterwards. We are trying to come to some sort of an understanding, whether it's a personal understanding or it's a collective understanding. But more importantly, it's the conversation. So I appreciate that. And Jafia says New York is an at-will state. Okay. And let's see. So I'm not reading the replies. I'll let y'all talk to each other. And also love JJ. You say a friend of mine was let go years ago from a job, no reason, but she fought it and got paid very well because of it. Know your rights, know your worth. Absolutely. That's why I was like, when they were firing me, it was two of them. Oh my God, these wenches. They did not like me. Okay, I'll tell you a story really quick. So I'm at the bottom. Got a job at Chase as a personal banker, right? So I was at one bank closer to my house. I was so close I can even walk to the bank. Sometimes I would. So there was this, white lady there. Now, this is why I think it all went downhill for your girl. This white lady, she looked like Big Bird. His brother came into the bank, and I'm new at the bank, so he's talking to them because he's a regular. Sounds like he had a lot of money. So I can hear him say, who is that over there? So he's talking about me. So my friend I had met at the bank, she was like, oh, that's Demetra. This, that, and the other. He says, can you ask her to come over here? I want to say hi to her. So they did. And I said, hey, how you doing? We was talking. He was telling me he got all these houses in Costa Rica, this, that, and the other. Maybe he was trying to, shoot a shot at his sister. I don't know. But before he could do that, the Big Bird came over there. And you didn't come say hi to me. And so I'm like, let me go on back to my desk. So after he leaves and he says, well, I didn't see you. Kind of just brushed her off. So I went back to my desk. He left. And so she comes over to me. Well, we used to have a thing for each other. And, the only reason why we're not together because, I'm with Brad. That was her dude. I'm with Brad now. And I'm like, why are you telling me all this? I don't want that man. He an old cat. He got some money or whatever. I don't want that man. And from that point on, they was on my bumper. So then they transferred me to San Bernardino. San Bernardino on D Street is the hood. The Social Security office is right across the street. I kid you not. My first day in that bank, I'm walking to my desk, and a sister came in the bank, and she was looking for the lady who fired me. She said, "Where that be at? I will whoop her." Woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, where did y'all send me to? So as I got to, work, I only was a personal banker 6 months, y'all. So as I was working there, I was like, where that lady at that want to whoop her ass? We need her in here. None of the personal bankers liked this lady. She was like Big Bird's sister, very miserable. Then there was a Filipino chick in there. They would like tag team me and try to, just do all kind of stupid stuff. One day, and I would have a lot of my clients, if I wasn't there, like one time I wasn't there, and a brother came back on my day that I worked. He says, "I want to close my account." I was like, "Wait a minute. We just opened an account. What happened?" He said, "I haven't gotten my card yet." Now, he was a student. "I haven't gotten my card yet, and my aunt is sending me money, but I can't get money out because they won't give me a temporary card." I said, "Well, why they won't give you a temporary card?" And he pointed to Big Bird's sister. "She won't give me a card." And I said, "That's not true." So I went to go talk to her. She was talking to her brother. He was a banker. And she saw me and she snapped, "Go and work the lobby." I was like, I'm going to cuss this. And so the brother was looking at me and I said, "I need to talk to you." I said, "I got a client over there wants to close his account because you told him that he could not have a card. And so now he's going to close his account." She goes, oh, why didn't you tell me?" And so the brother told me, he says, "Yeah, I think she talked to you like that because he thought I was a kid." I'm like, "Man, I'm 44 or whatever it was. 42. He says, "What? You 40? He says, "Okay, so you look young." I said, "But you know what? That's not an excuse for her to be talking to me like that." Needless to say, I'm going to tell y'all what was the nail in the coffin at that particular bank. There was this guy, kid you not, all the bankers were trying to get his account for years. This man had so much money at another bank, he didn't have it at this bank, that he got in on the ground floor of the Apple stock at $3. And he had a bunch of them. So we were talking and we talked for like an hour. And he says, "You know what? I like you." He said, "All of these other bankers in here, all they ever were concerned with was my money." He goes, "I don't need an account here. I got an account at, I forget where it was, across the street somewhere. Wells Fargo. I got money over there." But he says, "I like you." He says, "I'm going to come over here next week and I'm going to open up an account with you." Would have been very lucrative. Do you know those biatches fired me that Monday when I came back? And she was like, "Well, why did he spend so much time with you?" "Well, I'm just trying to figure out." I said, "I don't know. He liked me. He liked my conversation or whatever, So yeah, that was my story and why I got fired. And it was at will, but they got in trouble for doing it.
So basically, because you were such a good employee, they didn't like the fact. Right.
I was a sister.
Right.
And I was cute and they weren't. And they didn't like the attention I was getting. They didn't like and then another thing too, they had a white girl up in there. I had a client that come in. I did all the work. He was putting $100,000 and some in the account. You know what my commission would have looked like on that? Do you know when on my day off, they allowed a white girl to open it up? I had to take it all the way up to, corporate. And they was like, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it." So that kind of stuff. So they just didn't like me because, I'm like I am now. I was like that at work. I mean, obviously a little bit dialed down, but they don't like they Negroes, thinking they about something. They want you to have your head down and yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me give some advice to the fellas. If you guys don't know this already, do not date a woman that works at the bank where you keep your money. Don't do it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying this because if you're trying to front and finesse her, she can see how much money you're making. Okay.
Now, I'll tell y'all not to listen to Donovan because I was a personal banker and you have to justify why you going into an account if you're not specifically at that time working with that client You cannot go into their account whenever you want to, because if they see that you did it, you will lose your job if you don't have an answer as to why you were in that account. So Donovan, stop trying to freak these brothers out.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, let's say you have taken the girl out that works at the bank, right? Let's say you've done it, right? She's going in for the kill now because she's going to go and say, oh man, this guy's a millionaire. I quit my job. I'm going to be a full-time finesser. Be careful, fellas. Be careful.
Hey, you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, so that, you know, I know I could be a little bit animated, but that was a true story. I'm telling y'all. And let me tell y'all, man, that lady, she lucky that I never saw her again. I wanted to beat the brakes off of that lady. And do you know when they was firing me, she was like, because what had happened was, now I can't tell you how many times clients would sit down and they would have like, or managers have to sit down with you and do a training day with you. So they would train with me, and some of the clients that would sit down when the manager would get up to go get maybe some paper, one dude was like, why is that bitch sitting here? Tell that bitch to go away. I was like, how about this? How about you tell her to go away? He's like, I said, it's a training day, so she got to be here. He says, I don't like her. So a lot of clients will say that. So this firing day, when I got fired, I had a client come in. He opened up an account, and, you know, we're supposed to upsell. Hey, you know, we see that you qualify for a credit card. Would you like to go ahead and fill that out? He's like, no, I don't want to do it. Now, mind you, I wasn't behind in my credit card quota. I was doing well. He just didn't want to do it. He was adamant. I don't want to do it. I got enough credit. I just want to come open an account. So then my manager kept pushing me back. Well, go ask him. I said, listen, I'm telling you, keep it real with you. My manager keeps coming over here and wants me to force this on you. At the time, I didn't know she was setting me up. So she comes over to the guy. She says, gave him the credit card spiel. And he says, fine, I will get the card. So after he left, she called me in her office with the Filipino manager. And she goes, well, unfortunately, this is a termination conversation. I'll never forget it. A terminator, both sitting there. Termination conversation. I said, oh, really? Now, of course, my heart was kind of like, well, fuck, I said, oh, okay. But then immediately I was like, okay, well, shit, I'm going to call unemployment in the morning, so it ain't a big deal. So she goes, and I just want to read to you why. I said, what you're not going to do is subjugate me. I said, are you firing me? She says, yes. I said, you're not going to read nothing to me. I said, do I need to sign something? Do you need my badge? I took my badge off and I gave it to her. But I said, what you're not going to do is subjugate me and read. I said, you didn't already fire me. What power do you have to make me sit here and listen to you read while you fire me? So I said, I'm leaving, whatever. And so I'm walking to the locker room and she's walking with me and the other manager walking with me. She goes, where are you going? I said, I'm going to get my purse. Do you mind? Now, mind you, the walkway from the office to the lunchroom or the break room was a long walkway. So as I walked to the break room, all the bankers liked me. In fact, they was going to go foul on the managers to complain because they didn't like them, all that. As I'm walking to the lunchroom, I said, hey, they fired me. They're like, what? I said, yeah, they're firing me. So I got my purse out the locker and I was in the lunchroom. And they said, everybody's like, what's going on? I said, oh, they just fired me. So I'm walking back and I said, yeah, they fired me for no reason. Yeah, and they're like, oh my God, can we just get her out of here? I was like, nah, they fired me. So, long story short, that was the first and the only time I got fired. And from that point, I said to myself, I'm going to try my best to never have to punch a clock and be in a position where somebody can do that to me. I was able to go finish school and go get my master's and all of that. I racked up some student loan debt, but hey, I was able to do some other things. And so, California is at will, but they cannot just fire people just because. And I thank y'all for the compliments. Thank you so much. I was just really killing some time. I was got to the bottom of the comment section. I like to tell stories about myself sometimes. And Honeydew says, so Asia's got the power to dismantle white supremacy. Y'all just got jumped in, shaking my head. I don't know what that's about. Beverly says they were jealous of you, Demetri. Yeah, I don't like to throw that around like y'all just hating on me. But and then they even had, do y'all know they even had a sister in there. She was an assistant manager at the first bank, and she came to me. I was there 2 weeks to write me up. So what you write me up for? Oh, because it was just something. They couldn't even really say why they was writing me up. I should have seen it now. I see it now in hindsight that, they didn't like me. And I was like, come on, this is bull. I said, I haven't even finished training. I said, how can you write me up? And I'm still going through training. Like, what's really going on? I kind of think too, they kind of hired too many bankers at the time. But yeah, there was a lot going on. I'm like, wow. I mean, they was gunning for me, but I think that was really the Lord's way of saying, you hard-headed. I got a lot of other things for you to do. And you being at this bank with you. I mean, there was times when I walked into that bank, the one in San Bernardino, the time I walked in, I was so stressed out because I did not like that biatch and I did not want her to speak to me. Y'all know it was to the point to where on my lunch, I had an hour lunch break. I wouldn't go into the lunchroom. I would bring my tennis shoes and I would bring the shirt. I changed my shirt, changed it to my tennis shoes, and I would walk as far as I could for half an hour and then walk back in enough time to change my clothes and go back to work. And they were always like, well, why won't you sit in the break room with us? I'm like, I don't like y'all on the clock. And I ain't going to like you off the clock. Now, I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, oh, you crazy. So, yeah, sometimes, like I said, God and the universe, whatever system you believe in, will make you uncomfortable. This is not what you're supposed to be doing.
And that's exactly why us real men don't want y'all out there with all that stress. Stay home, cook, clean, kitchen or the bedroom. Okay.
Right. Stay home. So y'all the stress is out. No, I'm just playing. Yeah. So, but it was rough back then. No, it wasn't terrible, but I didn't like getting fired. It was humiliating to say the least, but I was humiliated for like 2 minutes and some spoke to me. It was like, man, you better quit tripping. You got a little money saved. These white folks finna pay you some unemployment and you go on and, do better things with your life. But no one is meant to go to work every day under that kind of stress. If you like your job, that's the one good thing. I'm not, discounting a job because best believe if I need to go punch a clock, goddamn it, I go punch a clock. I don't care where it is. It's a warehouse, whatever the case is. And another thing too is I punched a clock at Amazon while I had a master's degree. I did it for like 2 months. I was miserable. I cried.
Demetra came over my house in tears.
I hated it. And one day, as I was working, I was a stower at Amazon, which is why I know how Amazon gets down. I was a stower, and there was people from all walks of life in there, older people with degrees in business, just whatever it was. So one day, I never forget, it was in October. It was like 10 o'clock. It was about to go on break. And I was like, what the are you doing here? You're here. You got a master's degree. I said to myself, and I had this conversation, you ain't here because you have to be. You are here because your belief system is off. Get your ass up out of here. Do you know I walked off of that floor as everybody's walking to break? I clocked out and I walked to my car. And I didn't look back. It was rough. It was tough. I needed money here and there, but I never did. My car note was never late. I never was late on my rent. Nothing ever got shut off, and I hustled from that point. But the point that I'm making to that is I was at Amazon because I needed the money, but I didn't believe in myself. But it was horrible. My heart goes out to anybody who need to work at Amazon. And Pioneer says, sis, don't encourage these nickels to be lazy. Laugh out loud. Some of them need to learn how to work and keep a job. No, I hope that it doesn't come off as I'm encouraging people to be lazy. I'm not, because you can't really be lazy and work at Amazon. I know California has changed the laws now to where they cannot make you work on a quota because people were getting fired left and right to have to keep up with 100% quota. That's rough to do. And in fact, I believe that I was put in Amazon because often I would go try to speak up for people who were about to lose their jobs. There was a lady in there, was 60-something years old, a Black woman, who was a stower. And anybody who's worked at Amazon know as a stower, you have to get whatever cart is there, and it can be heavy stuff on there, light stuff on there. You have to push it to your area, and you have to stow things in these cubbies so that the people can come pick them and ship them out to people. So you have to work at a very fast rate. Now, this sister was there. She needed the money, and she kept getting written up. And she comes to me. She goes, they're going to fire me. So I walked into HR with her after work, and I had a talk with the HR lady. I said, I don't think this is right. I think y'all need to do something. This lady's here. Her back is hurting. She needs the money, but she's going to get fired. I said, is there anything y'all could do? And she says, unfortunately, that's the way it is, here. So I would help the lady as best I can. She was still there when I walked off. But yeah, so I'm not discouraged, trying to encourage people to be lazy. It's hard to be lazy at Amazon or any of those type of places. But I say that to say a lot of times when people see, somebody like myself, whoever that may be, sitting here on this platform, they don't know your story. We don't know a lot of stories of people we watch, but I'm one of those people. I like to share my story with people because I don't want people to think that everything is easy. Like a lot of times we see these people on these platforms, they got millions of followers and they're doing this, that, the other. They don't necessarily tell you their story. And my story, it's a doozy. I'll tell you that much. But I'm still a work in progress. But no, I'm not trying to.
And then there's a lot of stuff that you do behind the scenes that's kind of a lot of people don't know that you do, like just little things to just pick up this or pick up that. I mean, one thing I like about Demetra, and I've always liked about you, is that you hustle. You don't mind hustling, and you don't put yourself up here to do all certain things. Just like, hey, you help your brother out when he needs it, and you go over there and do that. Her brother has an Airbnb, and one time I guess he needed somebody to go and fix it up for the next person, and called Demetra up there. But of course, Demetra gets her money from her brother. But she's not above going out and doing what she needs to do, and I think that's always a good indication of a very blessed person. And
Donovan will tell you too, and I know we're going over here, so we'll get out here in just a minute. Donovan will tell you, when I was married for 10 months, I moved to, I'm gonna write a manuscript about that.
You need to write a book.
I got married to a truck driver. He was a trick and truck driver. I think I'll call it that, the trick and truck driver. So anyway, followed him to Illinois, and I followed him. I actually was here in Texas before. So that's why when I say I was in Texas before, I was here with a trick and truck driver, and I had to move back home with my mom. I didn't have much of anything when I left. I left with the premise of I was going to get married and have a great life. Bought my, actually it's kind of weird, had a house fire, lost my truck in a house fire, was able to get the insurance money, bought my daughter a car, and she stayed in California and all that. I ended up having to go back to California and live with my mom. I didn't have a car. My daughter had a car. It was the only car that we were using. And I remember she let my nephew use it, and my nephew ended up getting it, didn't lock it, and it got stolen. It was a Honda that, people like the Hondas, and they stole the car. I was at Donovan's working with him. He was running for city council at the time, working with him. My daughter calls me, oh my God, my car is stolen. And Donovan's taking me home, and I'm just bawling and I'm crying. I'm like, why? Everything is so horrible. Why am I going through this? And I just really because I was just, I didn't hardly have any money. It was really bad, but I did not give up. And during that time, my friend had a house cleaning business, and I said, do you need help? Now, mind you, I had just received my master's, and I was going in with her and cleaning people's toilets to make money while I was, working with Donovan. Donovan paid me as well. But, it was a rough start. I remember having at one time $10 to my name. $10.
Still doing it.
Yeah. And, I'm much better now. Thank God Almighty, but man, I don't wish that on nobody.
And let me tell you guys a quick story. When I was running for city council, she was my PR manager person. Every time it was time to pay her, I tried to lowball her the best I could. She was like, Negro, if you ain't got my money, my daughter is outside this door.
Pioneer, I'm reading your comment. Yeah, I wanted my money. Pioneer is queen. It seems like most of your problems came from the Black men in your life at the particular time. You know what? I would never blame anybody else for the problems that I had. They were a part of the problems, but the part of the problems is I was hard-headed. I was hard-headed instead of pursuing what God put me on this earth to do. I followed other plans, right? And I didn't look at some red flags. And I don't blame anybody that with anything that's happened to me, because I just feel like I'm in control of my life, and I can control the things that happen. But I don't think anything that's happened to me or happened to you all is a mistake. I believe everything that we have gone through is by design. And for those of you guys who read the Bible, says you were prepared for such a time as this. So everything that we've gone through in our life has prepared us for this time. Also, you got those of you guys who follow the Bible. I don't, although I am familiar with it. It it also says that your testimony should serve as bones. So that way, when you need to help somebody else and remind yourself of the struggle, you pull a bone out, a story, and you tell that to somebody as a testimony to help them. And so everything that we've been through is for a purpose. It's never in vain, if you will, even though a lot of times it was painful. So yeah, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm 50. How old am I? 51. That's when you know you're getting old. I'm still a work in progress. I don't have it all together. You know, I have my struggles. But I will just say this. I wake up every day and I thank God. I thank God every day that I'm not where I used to be. And I thank God that I am able to make a difference. As my dad always says, you know, as long as you got hands and you know, you got ingenuity and all of that, you can go make it happen. And so that's kind of what I do every day. I try to, you know, be thankful every day.
Right. And I think one of the biggest things that you have, and everybody should really take this into account, it's the people that you're surrounded with. Also, birds of a feather flock together. So if you surround yourself with a bunch of negativity, that's what you're going to get. But thank goodness Demetria has a great family. She has great friends, you know, and she always rises. At the end of the day, she always rises. So.
Yep. And Archie says, married for 10 months. She says, smiling, laugh out loud. I showed up late again. But I did catch the part about your accent, Demetria. I must say, you're a great entertaining storyteller. Well, thank you so much. I don't mean to be, but also I want to say before I leave out here, I thank God for my mom, who is no longer here, because when I was married for 10 months and it was horrible, let me tell y'all, so can I keep it real with y'all? When I say horrible, I'm going to tell my story one day, but this dude was a crackhead, and I'm not even being funny, like being, you know, he was really, really doing crack, and I didn't know he was. And so when I was here, you know, he never brought money home, and he was making a lot of money. Then I found out he was sending money to this woman and that woman, and I had to go get me, you know, a test to make sure I didn't have to go kill him because he was really out there. And so I say all that to say about my mom is I didn't tell my mom, and my dad is hearing a lot of this for the first time. I didn't tell my mom until it was it was just destitute. My daughter had came to visit me. She got on the plane. I'm going to cry talking about it. I don't mean to. But she got on the plane and she says, Mom, she says, please follow me back here. I don't want you to stay here in Texas. I want you to come back to California, because she saw what I was trying to do, you know, trying to make the marriage work. And she just was like, please don't stay here. Follow me back home. And so I called my mom, called my sister, and I said, hey, you know what? All these things are, you know, it's really bad here. And my mom, God rest her soul, she was like, I'm going to send you money. I want you to get the oil change. I want you to get good tires. I'm going to give you money. And my sister, she flew out from Florida on her Christmas break. She flew out and she drove with me all the way from Texas to California.
Yeah.
You know, it was more like a rescue mission, but, you know, I don't blame them. I blame myself, right. You know, but those stories.
And you know what the crazy thing about that story is? I was in Texas at about that time that Demetria was out there, but we didn't know it.
Yeah, so. You know, but it's embarrassing, right? Yeah. You leave your whole family to go and make a life with somebody, you know, and it doesn't work out. So it's like, damn, how am I going to tell my family, hey, you know what? I got to come back. You know, that's kind of where I was, but it was so bad to where I was like, oh no, I mean, this dude would take off for days. And I wouldn't even, sometimes as a truck driver, I wouldn't see him for like a month on end. So I was literally in Texas. I was in Humble, Texas by myself. And it was so bad to where when I did move back home, and, you know, I got a big family. I was around all my family. I don't know, Donovan, what is the term for it when you kind of, I don't know if it's shell shocked.
Yeah.
When you get around a lot of people,
yeah,
where I would have to just go get away because I was like
paranoid.
It was a lot for me because I was so isolated by myself. And so when I got back home, it took me a while to get acclimated to being around people. So I'm a wussy. It comes with getting older. You think about stuff, but I don't cry in that I'm sad. I cry because I did have, like Donovan said, a really good support system. that helped me acclimate back to feeling strong again. Yeah, social anxiety is what I had. It was bad. But
because you were in Humble. I was in Spring, right? The city right next door.
And those of y'all been in Humble was like, it was to the point that was like, you're not from here. I said, how can you tell? Because you say Humble and it's Humble. I'm like, okay. but Humble, it ain't nothing out in Humble. Nothing. So anyway, y'all, that's my story. Didn't mean to keep y'all here 14 minutes extra too long, but thank y'all for the sentiment and all that. It's straight to the top from this point, and I tell my story to help somebody. That's really what it's about. So I hope that it was helpful to somebody. But I just really want to say at the end of the day, don't give up. Whatever it is y'all want to do in life, do that. Because one of the people, Les Brown, and I'll close with this, says the wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery. Wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery because there's a lot of hopes, there's a lot of dreams, there's a lot of inventions, there's a lot of everything in the cemetery because people just didn't believe enough in themselves for whatever reason and to go do whatever it was they were put on the earth to do. We're not put on the earth to struggle and be in pain and have somebody crack the whip on us 8 to 10, however many hours a day. I'm not discounting a job. Like I said, I go punch a clock if I needed to, but we're put here to do so much more. So the point that I'm making is just let's live our purpose for us and so that we can help those around us. So never give up. And so Donovan, what say you before we get out of here?
Like I said, that was great story time. You got to give us a few more so people can really relate to what you're saying.
I got a lot.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is, like I said, if you surround yourself with negativity, you're going to attract negativity. If you have positive people around you, birds of a feather do flock together, and it does matter. But that's a true story that her daughter was going to beat me up if I tried to lowball her mom in the payment.
Right.
That's a true story. But again, you guys, join us again next week. Same time, same bat channel. We're going to be here 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. Also, we're going to be doing a podcast on Tuesdays. You guys look for it. We'll put it up on Tuesday. We don't know what the topic is, but we'll go into that. Thanks to Michael Pan for the
yes. Thank you. I forgot. I'm sorry. I meant to say that. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Yeah. For the thing. And do us a favor, you guys. Please like, share, and comment. I love reading you guys' comments even after the fact. And share this. Let's get this out there. Dimitri K, your show. How we're going to end.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see y'all. Well, y'all see us on Tuesday. We're not live, but definitely live with Walter. Stay tuned for that. Yes, indeed. Love and appreciate y'all very much. Y'all have a great day. Stay cool out there. Peace.